Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Awaken his sacred gear earlier and becomes the Crimson Purgatory Dragon Part 2. Before we start, please go support ShinjiHimejima for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some wrong he or she calling here because it's translated, so let me clear this. Issei is a male in this story. The Cult Research Club. Hyoudou residence. Normal POV. An Issei can be seen leaving the room where he trains again, as he went to take a bathroom to take a shower. Well, he opened the shower to enter, and the water ran over him. POV. Issei. Ah, how relaxing it is, but it's been 2 weeks since I told the truth to Sona and those beautiful girls, and I also joined the student council to continue helping them. Besides, it's fun to be with the 4 of them, or when I spend a moment alone with each of them, although I still need to meet the others and introduce myself to the Gremory group. Well, I hope to do it today. End of POV. Normal POV. After about 15 minutes, Issei came out of his room changed into his uniform, but with his personal touch, which was a dress vest and a black tie. They go to the kitchen to prepare a light breakfast for him and drag as a bento for him, since he didn't eat anything later because he was working on his student council. Once he finished all that, he decided to go to the academy. As he saw that it was not cloudy the day, he decided to go on his Kawasaki Ninja H2R motorcycle that he liked to ride like the other 2 he had. Issei was driving at full speed while dodging cars like a professional driver, since he was a little late since Drake did not want his bento, and they were fighting for a while. Until he saw in the distance a long brown hair that ended in 2 braids, running since it was getting late. Then he continued driving to be a little ahead of her and braked, causing a small tire burn and attracting attention. Issei. You're late too, aren't you, Ria-chan, while giving her a smile, since Issei used to drive without a helmet, causing her to blush at how he called her. Do you want me to take you? Ria. Yes, I fell asleep and my alarm clock was reset. Also, don't you think it would be a bother if you took me? Well, she said it with her soft and polite voice. I like that tone of voice. Issei. No, you're not a bother, besides I don't want you to be late and get scolded by Sona, so come on, let me take you to the academy. Ria. Well, you're partly right, but if you insist so much, it's okay. While she looked down, since no man would have offered to take her. Issei. Okay, well, first of all I apologize, but you'll have to go in front of me, since there's only the co-pilot seat. Ria. Boo, well okay, I understand. While she sat sideways, in front of Issei, with her briefcase in front of her. And so our protagonist started the motorcycle, causing a little scare to Ria due to the sound of the engine, thus taking the road and increasing speed, causing fear in Ria, who grabbed Issei's neck by instinct and hid her face in his chest, listening to Issei's heartbeat, causing her to calm down, thus relaxing and enjoying being there. Ria. This is nice, his heartbeat and the little aura that surrounds him is very nice. I don't want to leave here. No, what are you saying, Ria? They are just companions, they can't have a relationship, or can they? Besides, how bad can it be? Issei is a gentlemanly and attentive boy who treats each one of us as if we were the most important thing. Ria. And I think that's what makes him catch my attention, and every time I'm with him he makes me blush and I enjoy being by his side. I think I'm in love with him while putting on a smile. Until they reached the entrance of the academy where there were almost no people since they were in their classrooms. Issei. Well, we're here. While Ria let go of him and went down with her briefcase. I hope the trip wasn't uncomfortable for you. Ria. It wasn't fun at all, plus I enjoyed getting on a motorcycle with you, and thank you for bringing me, while giving him a smile, causing Issei to blush. Issei. You have nothing to be thankful for. Well, see you later at the student council. I have to go drop her off, while pointing at the motorcycle. Ria. Yes, well, goodbye, Issei, and be careful. As she turned around to go to her classroom, with an elegant and slightly provocative walk that Issei couldn't avoid looking at her hips, causing a smile to form as he watched her walk away. Issei. Shit, haha, be careful who you provoke, Ria-chan, while saying all that in a low tone of voice so she wouldn't hear it, while he went to the parking lot to leave the bike. After some boring classes for Issei's opinion, where sometimes he ended up giving them, with some teachers surprised by the way he handled the subject and some blushing teachers, until the blessed touch arrived that meant it was break time, where the men looked like hungry beasts as they arrived at the cafeteria like animals, where sometimes they fought over a bread roll. But for Issei, well, it means work in the council, as he headed with his briefcase to the council while passing by the cafeteria and saw that there was a great commotion to continue walking until he reached the door of the council, where he knocked to wait for a pass from Sona. Student council. Upon entering, he saw that there were only Sona and Tsubaki, as well as 3 girls and a blonde-haired boy. We already know who he is, but he's not. That the first girl was tall with shoulder-length blue hair and matching eyes, as well as a basic tomboy appearance, but she has a Bishounen face that was popular with some girls. Tsubasa. while the second was a beautiful girl with shoulder-length reddish-brown hair and brown eyes. Her hair had swept bangs and a single strand of hair sticking out from the top, with a body that, although she didn't have much of a chest, she had good legs that accompanied it with a fleshy and shaped butt that could be noticed a little due to the skirt, but that would drive you crazy just imagining it. Akno. Tomo. And the third girl is a short girl with brown hair and long twin ponytails and green eyes, as well as wearing a pair of green clips in her hair and also some green striped stockings, as well as being cute. Her height gave her a touch of tenderness. Haruko. Well, the boy, well, I'm too lazy to put something like that on him, was a blonde-haired boy with gray eyes and with his sleeves rolled up and without the academy jacket. Saji. Sona. Hello Issei, I want to introduce you to the remaining 2 members of my entourage and 2 new members of my entourage. Tsubasa. Nice to meet you Hyoudou Issei, I'm sorry for not having introduced myself since you joined the council, but I've been doing council activities while bowing, which was reciprocated by one from Issei. Tomo. It's nice to meet you Hyoudou-kun, and I thank you for helping Sona with her paperwork. I hope we get along, while giving her a smile, which was answered by one from Issei, which made her blush. Haruko. Nice to meet you Hyoudou-senpai, I hope we get along, while bowing, which Issei imitated. Saji. Ha, it's surprising that a boy like you can enter the student council or even enter Sona's entourage without even giving off a demon aura. Well, nothing can be done, after all I am a bearer of the Vitria Dragon, and who are you? Well, putting on an arrogant smile. While Sona and Tsubaki, seeing Saji's attitude, were going to intervene but received a look from Issei that made them understand not to get involved, that everything was going to be okay. Issei. Well, you're right, you are a bearer of one of the pieces of the Vitria Dragon, and I am just a human bearer of a sword, capable of killing a dragon up to a god. Sona and Tsubaki were surprised that he did not mention that he was the bearer of the boosted gear, but they decided to save their question for another time, while Issei made Intetsu appear. Issei. Besides, I'm just an ally of Sona who discovered that she was a demon, and I asked her to let me join the student council, that's why I'm here. Besides, you've just been reincarnated and awakened your sacred gear, but you still need to awaken Vitria. That Saji, upon hearing that, got angry and launched himself at Issei, his sacred gear appearing to hit him, which Issei only ended up dodging to put his foot on him, causing him to fall and threatening him with his sword that was near his throat. Issei. Compared to me awakening mine at a young age and training with it, reaching full use of it as its balance breaker, well, you don't have full use of it, like the pieces you're missing from it. Sona. Issei, Saji, enough, behave. While Issei, upon hearing that, disappeared to Intetsu and separated from Saji, while the other got up. Also Saji, you should not have that arrogant attitude for becoming a demon, and you Issei accompany Momo and Ria, so that they do not have problems with students who do not comply with the regulations, or with those that they cannot deal with. Well, you Saji, I think I will have to teach you manners and remove that arrogant attitude. While Issei said goodbye to Tsubaki, Tomo, Tsubasa and Haruko without before telling Sona to inform Rias about him and to visit her after classes end, as he left the council without looking back, while Saji, seeing Sona, made a chill run through him. When Issei went out and began to look for Momo and Ria, a loud scream of pain and suffering was heard, but it was the scream of a girl, whatever it was, but several more began to be heard. After searching for them for a while, he found them in the cafeteria, watching the herd of animals or beasts eager to buy something to eat. Issei. Hey girls, I've been looking for you to help you while approaching them. Momo. Oh hello Issei, I'm sure you've already seen the 2 new members and the arrogant Saji, right? While Ria still had her gaze towards the cafeteria hoping to buy something. Issei. Yes, I had a little encounter with him, but Sona is going to deal with him later. But changing the subject, I saw that they wanted to buy something, but they couldn't buy something because of the bunch of animals there. How about eating with me with the bento that I prepared myself? Upon hearing that, the 2 were surprised by the invitation he made them, and even more so because he was the one who cooked the food. Ria. Are you sure Issei? There are 3 of us, and you must surely have enough food for yourself. Well, Momo confirmed what Ria said. Issei. Yes, I'm totally sure girls, so come on, follow me. While he turned around to start walking with 2 beautiful girls behind him. Issei was the one who directed the girls, who did not know where he was taking them, until he took them to some stairs where they began to climb until they came across a door, where upon entering they went out onto the roof of the school. Issei. Well, I like eating in an environment like this. While he headed to a shady part so that the sun wouldn't hit them. Well, this is fine, while a blanket appeared with a magic circle spread on the floor so that they wouldn't get dirty when sitting down. Then Issei sat down so that Momo and Ria could follow him, sitting in front of him like educated women, so that later Issei appeared through a magic circle, the bento that he prepared, which were 3 floors wrapped in a red tablecloth with yellow edges, where he unwrapped them and gave them a flower part, or topper as you see it. That when Momo and Rya uncovered them, they were surprised to see that the food had a good appearance, as well as a good smell that intoxicated them. Issei. Well, enjoy while grabbing a pair of chopsticks to break them so he could start eating, but stopped when he saw that Momo and Rya were staring at the food. What's wrong? There's nothing wrong with the food, so come on, try it without fear. When they heard that, they each grabbed a pair of chopsticks and broke them, then they decided to take a bite, and with just that bite, it would be enough to fascinate them with Issei's food, where they didn't care who they were with, since they started eating as if they were going to take away the food, while Issei seeing that just smiled and continued eating calmly. After a while where Issei enjoyed his food quietly with his companions who also enjoyed Issei's food as they had a big smile, so that Issei could relax while enjoying the little breeze. Rya. Hey Issei. While Issei turned to look at her. How do you know how to cook so well? And above all, thank you for the food while bowing with Momo, as a thank you. Issei. Oh don't worry girls, it's not that big of a deal, anyway I also thank you for joining me to eat and answering your question. I like to watch my mother cook my favorite dishes, so 2 months before they left to visit my grandmother, I asked her if she would teach me how to cook, which she gladly accepted. Issei. Where I spent days, weeks trying to learn until I finally achieved it. My mother then let me prepare breakfast, lunch and dinner until I lost her, but during my training in the gap, I decided to improve my cooking skills, but more than anything to maintain that feeling that my mother left me when she cooks. Rya. I'm sorry for asking that, Ice, I didn't know I would be touching on a sensitive subject. Issei. Don't worry, I'm fine talking about it, but I'm glad you like the food while giving them a smile that made them blush. Well they stayed talking about tribal things and then they joked among themselves until the blow came weed, Okno, which meant the end of the break, so they could return to their job, which was to supervise if there was a student skipping classes or clubs not doing their activities. They continued like this until classes ended, where Issei went to the council for his briefcase, where he separated from Rya and Momo who went to their classrooms for his, until he arrived where he knocked again until he received the pass. Student council. Where upon entering he saw that she was just signing papers until he noticed her presence. Issei. Hi Sona, I'm sorry for not helping you with the paperwork today and for my behavior with Saji while looking for his briefcase. Sona. Don't worry Issei-kun, besides now there was little paperwork, so I finished just when you came in. And about Saji, well I don't think you'll have that attitude again. By the way, why didn't you mention that you were the Sekiryuite? But how about we have a game of chess while we talk and wait for Tsubaki to arrive? Issei. Well he sat in front of her and played black. You start while Sona moved a pawn. Well, I didn't mention that it was the Sekiryuite, since I don't plan to do so until I see an opportunity where I can benefit or I tell those I trust while moving a piece. Sona. Oh I see, but I did mention it to Rya's and only she and her queen heard it while moving another piece. Issei. No problem, after all you two are the ones protecting this territory while moving another piece. And they continued talking about tribal things, as well as getting to know each other, while making various movements, until Issei was going to move a piece, but Tsubaki came in, but decided to finish moving his piece, thus leaving the game. Tsubaki. I'm back President. Hello Issei, I thought you were with Rya's. While Issei got up from his seat. Issei. Well, I was accompanying Sona until you returned, besides I forgot my briefcase while heading to the exit. Well, goodbye Tsu-chan and So-chan. To leave the room and leave a half-blushed Tsubaki and Sona. Tsubaki tried to downplay it, although she liked that Issei told her that. She turned to see Sona who was sitting behind her desk with her gaze to the side trying to hide her blush, but there was something that caught her attention that was on top of the desk, and it was a chessboard with pieces out of place, and she was surprised by something she saw on the board. Tsubaki. President, you played chess while I was gone, right? And another thing, you were playing as if it cost you your life, right? Sona. Tsubaki, if we were playing I invited him to play while we were waiting for you, besides you know that I always play seriously. Tsubaki. Well you must have been the black pieces right while receiving a denial, then look at the board and see what happened. Sona then looked at the board analyzing the pieces of the two until she realized something, the last move that Issei made before Tsubaki entered. Sona. Hi do Issei just beat me in a match while lowering her head. That can't be, he's the first one who beats me in a fair match, now what will I do Tsubaki? Tsubaki. Tell him the truth about the agreement you made, that you would marry the man who beats you in a game of chess. Sona. I know that, but what will I do? What if I tell him and he is no longer our ally? Tsubaki. I don't think so. Issei is seen to be a man of his word, but even though he is a dragon god, he takes responsibility for his actions, so you have nothing to lose by trying. If you want to cancel it, just talk to him, he will surely understand and cancel it. Or do you really want to marry him? Even though he said the last thing as a joke, he was surprised to see Sona blush like a tomato and start playing with her fingers Hinata style while she was looking away. While that was happening in the student council, elsewhere we can see our protagonist walking calmly towards the occult club until he was in front of the building deciding to enter, until he reached a door where he felt the presence of two girls inside the room. So knocking 3 times until he received a pass, upon entering he could only see a beautiful redhead with a splendid body, sitting behind a desk, and next to her was a brunette with an equal beauty that would make even an angel sin, with a beautiful voluptuous body. Rias. You must be Hyoudou, Issei, right? While receiving an affirmation as a response, Sona told me about you, so I introduced myself. I am Rias Gremory, and the one next to me is my queen ShinjiHimejima. Well, the brunette bowed as a greeting. Issei. It is a pleasure to meet two beautiful girls. While Rias and Akeno blushed apart from the student council president and her entourage. I am here to serve you in any help I can give you both in the supernatural or human world. While bowing. Rias. You do have manners and I will keep your word in mind, so I hope we get along well, Issei-kun. Well, that is if you let me tell you, Issei, right? Issei. If there is no problem, well, I think that would be all from me, so I think I'll leave. While bowing as a farewell, while heading to the entrance to leave. Akeno. Ara, don't you think he's too handsome, you said while having a hand on her cheek. Rias. I won't deny it this time, Akeno, but stop saying that. While a small blush grew on her face. He's just a simple ally. Akeno. Well, Sona's face and that of some members of her entourage. Don't tell me that as she left the room, leaving Rias reviewing papers. Rias. Well, it's not like I want to have anything with him in the future, but I think I have better things to deal with. While laughing, he looked towards the window with an annoyed look. Well, he held something in his hands and it was a letter, but it had a symbol of a demonic house, which caused him a headache just by looking at it. 11. While that was happening at the occult club, our protagonist is seen walking calmly with his things towards the parking lot. Once he arrived, he went to his motorcycle to get on it and turn it on, to leave the academy and go to his house. After driving like a professional and crazy, he arrived home where he decided to prepare something to eat for himself and Drag. After finishing eating, he decided to continue with his training and thus entered the training room again. Well, the next day he did the same thing, take a shower, prepare a bento to take away and leave on his motorcycle and drive like crazy, arriving at the academy and taking his classes, well, even though he already knew everything they taught him. Until the break came where Issei went to the council to be able to help Sona with the paperwork or something else they need, but Sona told him that for a while, she will be in the occult club since Kiba went to training with his teacher and it would take a month for him to return, so Issei accepted to go to said club. Occult club. You can see our dark-haired man waiting for the door to be opened, so that after a while a beautiful dark-haired woman with violet eyes and a beautiful body would open it. Upon entering, she directed him to sit on the armchair they had in the room, since Akeno told him to wait, since Rias was taking a shower, and she was right since the sound of falling water and smoke coming out from behind a curtain could be heard. Akeno. I hope it wasn't a bother that we asked Sona to help us. While calling Issei's attention and seeing that Akeno was bringing 2 cups of tea while sitting next to him. Issei. Oh no, of course not, for me it's better, since I can get to know them better and know how they work while drinking some tea. Akeno. Yufufu, then Issei-kun, would you like to know more? While Issei approached closer to whisper something in his ear about your dear senpai. Issei, seeing what Akeno was doing, decided to play along, but not before starting to release pheromones. Issei. He sounds tempting as he turned to look at her and saw that she now had a little blush and began to approach her to corner her in the corner of the sofa or armchair. And I would not hesitate to accept you are a beautiful girl with a beautiful body that if I had it all to myself in a room and on a bed would fulfill all my lustful desires. Well, he told her all that in her ear with a hoarse voice and then smelled her aroma that came from her neck, which made Akeno feel something in her crotch, making her legs or thighs rub together, something called excitement, so that from one moment to the next, Issei grabbed her chin with delicacy. So that they would stare at each other and Akeno would see those beautiful purple eyes making her get lost in them, causing her to slowly approach and Issei to do the same until the curtain could be heard moving aside, causing Issei to separate and return to his place while grabbing his cup of tea to continue drinking from it, but not before stopping expelling pheromones. While Akeno settled into her place, while laughing she came out and saw that Issei was calmly drinking tea and a blushing Akeno. Rias. Oh hello Issei-kun, I'm glad you arrived. While receiving Issei's attention, well, I hope you can help us with our club activities for a month while Kiba returns. Issei. Yes, of course, there is no problem. I will help in any way I can. While he continued drinking his tea. Time skip. And well, that was the interesting thing that happened that day, with an Issei now belonging to the occult club temporarily and all the students of the academy finding out, thus earning more jealousy from the boys for now being with the other 2 beauties of the academy. But after several more days, I specify 4 weeks later, where Issei carried out activities of the occult club and with an Akeno who followed his same seductive attitude, where sometimes Rias discovered them and seemed to have a jealous attitude and well a Kaneko who was happy when Issei gave her a bag of candy. And on the other hand during that time Sona, Tsubaki, Momo and Ria were bored for no reason since they had the boy who brightened their day, while Sona's work always piled up because she no longer had Issei's help. Plus she still had a big problem about the chess game she lost and she still hadn't told Issei anything causing him to get a little stressed and more because he didn't know what she felt for Issei. End of time skip. The cult club. You can see in Issei on his last day that was going to be at the club heading to the main room to see if he had more work to do after going to arrange some things in another room of the building where they were. Upon entering he found only Arias who was leaning on the window frame. Looking out with a look that reflected sadness and that was lost in her thoughts since she did not pay attention to who had just entered. Issei began to approach without making any noise until he reached the other side of the frame where she was leaning and so that he could lean on the frame as well while she was still lost in her thoughts. Issei. Rias seeing that he came out of his trance and turned to look at him. Are you okay? Rias. Issei, I see that you have already finished your work and yes I am fine thank you as she tried to leave but was stopped by a hand when she turned around she saw that it was Issei who was stopping her. Issei. Rias, I know you're not okay, I know that look, I once had it when my parents died, tell me about it, maybe I can help you with something. Rias. Well I think I can trust you so it's okay, I think you know that of the 72 pillars that were there before, now only 34 are active, and because of this the demonic council decided that only pure-blooded demons should marry. Rias. Sona and I were engaged to demons from different clans, Sona was able to break her engagement through a chess game, where she ended up winning and made a law that she would only marry someone who beats her in a chess game, but I can't do anything to break it, the only way is through a rating game, and I'm running out of time to get my remaining pieces. Rias. And I don't know what to do anymore, I don't want to marry someone who only looks at me for my clan or my body, I just want to get married to someone who falls in love with me for being Ria's Gremory, not the heiress of the Gremory clan, while she lowered her gaze and squeezed her skirt tightly. While Issei approached her to hug her while Rissa was surprised by the hug, by instinct, she hugged him tightly and started crying silently. After a while where Issei remained silent and letting Rissa cry on his shoulder until she calmed down. Issei. I'm really sorry, but I think I know a way to break your engagement. Rias. Well separating from him to look at his face do you really know how to break my engagement? While having a surprised face. Issei. Of course it will, but I don't know if it will work while he was glad to no longer see her crying, and the way that occurs to me is for me to break it. Rias. But are you sure you can break it? I mean, I know you can win, but I don't know if he'll accept the fight. Well, I also think he'll accept, but it wouldn't be very selfish of me to ask you that. Issei. Not at all while giving her a smile that made her blush besides, I'm offering myself, you're not asking me, I want the best for you laughs. Rias. Well she threw herself to give him a hug thank you, really thank you if you can break it, I really want to stay like this longer with you Hyoudou Issei, well she had a smile like a blush that Issei didn't see. Issei. Of course I will even if I earn the hatred of the demons, while having a determined look besides I will come back here to spend time with you. Fallen Angels in Kuo City. Kuo Academy. A day has passed after Issei returned to the student council leaving the occult club, where just upon entering the room he was tackled by 2 girls who were Momo and Ria, who were very happy to see him again, where they were seen by Asona who had a smile to see him again, as well as at Tsubaki. Although deep down they also wanted to throw themselves at him to hug him, but couldn't because of maintaining their image and an amused Tomo, seeing how those 2 Momo and Ria acted. Leaving that aside, we focused on the kind of Issei who were in physical education or sports class, where the girls came out highlighting their attributes with the uniform, making some boys start drooling, while only our protagonist was missing. Murayama. Hey Issei, come out now because we can't start class like this. After finishing saying that, an Issei began to come out of the locker room, drawing the attention of the girls and some boys for something, and that something was that the uniform was a little tight on him, more specifically the shirt, making his toned back stand out, in addition to showing his arms that are marked but not exaggeratedly, and that you could see a little of the squares he had marked. Where the girls screamed with excitement just by seeing him, while some blushed fiercely and looked away and others looked at him with lustful eyes, while the boys' side began to look at their bodies, seeing that some already had fat and made an effort to form their rabbit, but it seemed to deflate. Issei. Shit I'm sure this shirt isn't mine while making a few movements. As a cute girl in my opinion with glasses spectacles or lenses with slightly messy brown hair and eye color tied in braids on each side approached. Kiryu. Wow, Issei-kun, you really had it saved. While he looked at him from head to toe with a small perverted look, which Issei felt as if they were almost measuring his manhood, and he was right since Kiryu stared at his crotch for a while. He even opened his eyes, as he also opened his mouth a little because of the surprise he got knowing what Issei carries. While in the distance you could see a bald man and his friend who did have hair and glasses looking at the girls with their clear perverted faces, but the unusual thing about one of them, more specifically Motohama the one with glasses, was that he had a shirt that was too big for him, which was unusual, but he didn't take it important to continue with his perverted acts. Putting it aside, they started with the classic trot around the courts. What caught everyone's attention was that Issei, starting at the end of the line, became the first, and he didn't look tired at all. Then the teacher made the men do 50 push-ups. After a while there was only Issei and a student left who had 10 push-ups left, but the student already looked a little tired, while Issei looked a little sweaty but not tired at all. When the two went down to continue doing push-ups, only Issei was able to get up alone, leaving him alone. Kiryu. Hey Issei, let me help you, as she approached him with a wicked smile, waiting for him to come down so she could sit on his back. Issei. Hahaha, oh really, thanks for your help Kiryu, while there was a confident Kiryu on his back. The next thing Issei did left everyone surprised, even the teacher. He was able to continue doing push-ups with Kiryu on top of him, while she was surprised but then put on a smile while crossing her legs. After finishing the 10 he needed and Kiryu getting up from his back, the classic soccer challenge they played at school took place, where Issei won over everyone by scoring spectacular goals, where he gained more fans because of how he looked playing. At the end of class, Issei found himself in a slightly sweaty shirt that stuck to his body, making his toned torso stand out even more as he headed to the locker room. While in the distance, as Rias and Akeno passed by, they managed to see his toned body, causing Akeno to have a perverted smile along with a blush, while Rias was only blushing because of Issei's body. After having his sports class, in addition to others, came the famous break for the students, where Issei went to the student council to see what activities they had. As he entered he could only see several piles of papers around Sona's desk, where she was sitting in her chair with a depressing aura around her, muttering something about silly paperwork. I'm always locked in this place. Issei. Hello Sona, while she heard Issei's voice and quickly turned around while returning with her usual attitude. Sona. Oh hello Issei-kun, nice to see you here. If you come here I can give you work, at the moment there is none so you can rest today while continuing to sign some documents. Issei. Of course there's work for me. While sitting in front of her, it's to help you with this paperwork, while grabbing a pile that was nearby. Sona. But are you sure? I mean, there are other types of documents that you normally help me with. Issei. Just with an explanation that you give me will be enough, and I will make sure that they are only ordered and that you only sign them, while giving her a smile, which sounds like when seeing her she crouched down to hide her blush and her small smile of happiness. And that was how Sona explained to him what he had to do step by step, where Issei learned quickly and she only had to sign, making his work easier, where every time she finished a pile she started with another, and Issei removed the pile that was ready and arranged it where he was going. Where they took all the dried material, and every hour and hour they had of classes, until the bell rang for the students where they had not finished yet. More than an hour passed after the students left as teachers finally managed to finish, leaving Sona exhausted from signing document after document, while Issei arranged the last stack of documents. Issei. Well, we're finally done so I think we can go, while picking up his briefcase. Sona. You're right, as she stood up and stretched a little, but after that a roar could be heard coming from her stomach, while she blushed in embarrassment. Issei. Haha, how about we go eat before we each head home, while he was standing at the entrance. I'm hungry too, while giving him a smile. Sona. Yes, let's go, while grabbing her briefcase that was next to her desk and heading towards him. So the two left the academy, seeing that it was starting to get dark, while they walked slowly since Issei decided to leave his motorcycle today, while they looked for a place to eat until they saw a sign that said the Cough of Jazz. So the two of them decided to go in. Upon entering they saw that there was a group playing romantic jazz music, while in the center of the dance floor there were some couples embracing each other and dancing slowly, while around the dance floor there were several tables, some occupied by couples or friends. While at the bar there were a few men and women just enjoying the music and the desserts and coffee that were there. So that they could go to a table that was free next to the window. When Issei arrived, being a good gentleman, he helped her move the chair so that she could sit, so that he could then sit on the other side, so that they could leave their briefcases next to them, and after a while a waiter would arrive. Waiter. Good afternoon. While I gave them each a menu card, well they grabbed it and began to look at the menu. How can I serve you? Issei. Good afternoon. While he had his gaze on the letter, can you bring me a slice of blackberry cheesecake as well as a cappuccino? While he handed him the letter. Sona. And he brings me a slice of strawberry cheesecake as well as a strawberry milkshake, and she gave the menu to the waiter. Waiter. That would be all. Well, he grabbed the cards and finished writing them down. Issei. Yes, for now that would be all, thank you. Well, the waiter left. Well, listening to jazz music, have you heard this kind of music before? Sona. No, I've never heard it before, but as she closed her eyes and enjoyed the music, I like it. And you? As she opened her eyes again. Issei. I heard it when I was a child. My father had a record player, and he would play his records when he was stressed or when he wanted to remember his youth, and sometimes he would invite my mother to dance, where I would just have fun seeing them so happy while putting on a smile when remembering those moments. Sona. And how do you dance this kind of music? Well, she saw that only. Issei pointed for a moment to the couples who were hugging and dancing slowly in the center. While she blushed for a moment, imagining her and Issei dancing like that. But Issei found it strange that she had her head down while muttering something like, damn pretty boy winning chess games, or what a beautiful misfortune I had. But after waiting for a while and a quieter sound, they brought them their orders, where the Issei cappuccino came with a leaf shape where the foam was. So everyone began to enjoy their food, or rather dessert, where Sona could see that she was enjoying her food a lot and that they were also enjoying the jazz music. After a while the two had already finished their meal, where Issei stared at Sona so that he approached her and with his thumb removed the whipped cream that was on her cheek. Well, he returned to his place and ate the whipped cream that he had on his thumb, well as Sona looked at him, surprised by what he did in addition to blushing a little and looking away towards the window. Well, and Issei looked at her with a smile. Sona. Hey Issei, while leaning on one hand looking out, what would you think if you got engaged to a girl out of the blue? Issei. Good question. While closing his eyes and enjoying the music. Well, I couldn't think of anything, really. If I like that girl, or if it's something mutual, I think I would have no problem accepting to marry her, that is if she wants it too. Sona. But what if, let's just say it was for a game and she wanted to cancel it because he didn't know that if he won they would get engaged? While turning to look at him. Issei. Well, things change there. It would be enough for her to talk to me and I would understand everything perfectly. I mean, I didn't know that would happen, so there wouldn't be so many problems in canceling it. Sona. But it's the complete opposite. Besides, she has feelings for him and she doesn't know if it's mutual, and they already talked about the engagement. Well, she began to blush a little. Issei. Well, if that were my case, well, putting on a smile like a dreamy look, I would try to get to know her and try to fall in love with her. I mean, I don't think that girl is that bad. Besides that, I would take her on dates. I would be there for her in good and bad times, besides always being by her side, and I would always try to make her smile. Like protecting her from any danger she is exposed to, like helping her fulfill her dreams, and she mind well putting on a smile at the end of saying that. Besides that is what I would do with you. While she was sleeping, listening to each word he said, she blushed more and more until she got to a part that was, I would help her fulfill her dreams, and she mind where she smiled upon hearing that. Sona. Thank you for answering my questions, Issei-kun. While giving him a smile, Issei was stunned for a moment until he returned a smile while looking outside. I think I know what I feel for you, and what can I lose by trying with you? Issei and Sona. I think I like you, Sona. Sitri Hyoudou. Issei, as they stared at each other for a moment and realized what they did and quickly both looked away. So the two of them stayed for a while without talking, just enjoying the music until the group finished playing and they decided to leave, but not before Issei paid the bill. Although Sona wanted to help him pay the bill, Issei flatly refused. You can see two dark-haired men walking calmly through the streets that were illuminated, where those dark-haired men were our beloved protagonist and a beautiful girl with glasses next to him who was our beloved student council president. The reason they were walking together was because Issei wanted to accompany her home. Sona. Hey Issei, what do you think about the girls of the student council including me? Well, attracting Issei's attention and they continued walking. Issei. They are all really beautiful, they have their own charm that would make anyone fall in love. Sona. And if someone notices you, you would accept them while turning to look at him. Issei. Of course, I wouldn't like to see one of them sad, especially when they became special to me, like the occult club. Even though I was with them for a short time, I know I can trust them like I can trust you. Until they stopped in front of an apartment building. Sona. Well, thank you for taking me to the building where Issei-kun lives, for inviting me to the cafeteria, and for helping me finish the paperwork. Seriously, thank you for today. Issei. Don't worry, it was nothing. I didn't want you to get stressed out with all that paperwork on your own. Besides, I didn't know you lived in an apartment while looking at the building. Sona. Well, I wanted to learn to live in a place without many luxuries, and only Tsubaki and I live there, so it's fine for us. Issei. Well, that's good. Besides, I'm surprised that you live with her, but well, I won't keep you any longer, so go on in and rest very well for tomorrow. Sona. You're right, I think now I can sleep without worrying about paperwork, so goodbye Issei-kun until tomorrow. While turning around to enter. Issei. Yes, goodbye, have a rest, Sona while he saw her heading to the entrance until she stopped and turned around to return to him and give him a quick hug with a kiss on the cheek and quickly entered the building without looking back. While Issei could be seen standing with a smile while touching his cheek where he was kissed as he slowly left there to head home. Issei was seen walking slowly and a provoked smile could be noticed on him until he crossed an alley that was left for him to get to his house where he felt that he had previously put a barrier in that alley, like the smell of blood, where Issei went further in. Until he found a trail of black feathers in the middle of the alley and further ahead there was a lifeless body surrounded by a pool of his own blood and he also had a hole in his stomach as if he had pierced it. While Issei got an idea of what happened, in addition to feeling the little presence of a sacred gear in his body until it disappeared completely, while he continued on his way to his house and wait until tomorrow to be able to talk to Riaz and Sona about this. It was a new day in Kuo City, where men and women got up to work, housewives got up to do household chores like shopping, boys and girls got up to go to school, so that in the future, they would have their own thing with a good job and salary. But we did not focus on a house even though it was a mansion, where our protagonist lives, who was sleeping peacefully, until the annoying rays of the sun arrived and interrupted his sleep, waking him up. And he would begin to do his routine which would be to get up, take a shower, get ready to go to the academy and put on his vest like a tie, but this time it was crimson red and the vest a wine color, to go down and make breakfast as well as make his bento to take away. After breakfast he went to the academy on his Kawasaki motorcycle, which by the way was running late again, driving like a true professional just like Francesco Virgolini, the fastest car in all of Italy, while he was driving again, he could see that beautiful long brown hair that ended in two short braids, and she was wearing a blue headband. While he slowed down to get closer. Issei. Late again Ria-chan while turning to look at him. Ria. Haha that's what I should say to you, maybe you fell asleep or because of Drag. Issei. Both while remembering what happened a few moments ago with a Drag stealing his bento well, but leaving that aside, should I take you? Ria. I can't deny it, right? While receiving a denial from Issei while Issei stopped and moved back so that Ria could sit in front of him and start to leave, while Ria leaned on his chest enjoying being like this with Issei, plus she could feel the warmth we transmitted. Hey Issei-kun. Issei. What happened Ria while he continued driving without taking his eyes off the street. Ria. There's a chance you wanted to teach me how to drive as she took off and turned to look at him. Issei. Oh of course there is, but I'm surprised you want to learn. Can I ask why? Ria. Well, I was interested in learning how to drive and in the future I would like to have a car or a motorcycle like the ones you have, Issei-kun while she settled on Issei's chest to enjoy the ride. Issei. Well then I'll teach you tomorrow after school. And so the two remained silent while Issei continued driving and Ria enjoyed being so close to him. Until they arrived at the academy where Ria did not want to separate from him, but she had to do so as not to look so obvious and go to her classroom to take classes, while Issei decided to skip class staying in the infirmary sleeping peacefully on one of the stretchers. Until the bell rang meaning they were on break, where he was still asleep until he was found by two beautiful girls, one with snow white hair and the other with reddish brown hair, both with a great beauty that would make any student or rather boy from anywhere fall in love. Momo. Nina Issei don't be lazy and wake up already while she slowly moved him to wake him up without success until she came up with a fun way to wake him up while she sat on the edge of the stretcher and approached Issei's ear. Issei-kun wake up so we can continue doing what we did last night while she said it with a sensual voice. While there was a Tomo Meguri watching that with a small drop of sweat running down her neck because of what her friend and partner was doing until. Issei. Let me sleep honey, I'm tired, let's keep sleeping, and he said all that while he was sleeping, in addition to hugging Momo's waist, so that he would lay her down with him while he hugged her, while there was a blushing Momo that even looked like a tomato from embarrassment. While Momo tried to free herself from his grip even though inside she didn't want to, she couldn't get out, while Tomi panicked, running all over the infirmary, because she didn't know what to do to get Momo out, until a queen came in. Ria. Seriously while watching a nervous Tomo and then an Issei with a Momo in his arms, who was trying to break free. Hey that's mine, what are you doing, Momo-san? Momo. What do you think? Well moving from one side to the other to free herself so you better help me instead of watching. Ria. Yes, whatever you say while she approached Issei to start moving him to Issei-kun, it's time to get up while she continued moving him until he showed signs of waking up, thus loosening the hug with Momo, allowing her to separate and get up quickly so that Issei who was lying down with him wouldn't see her. Issei. While yawning and stretching, while seeing that Ria was there, Tomo who was greeting her with a smile that meant that she was nervous and a Momo with a noticeable blush adorning her beautiful face, surely Sona sent you to look for me, right? While reciting an affirmation from the three of them let's go while receiving another affirmation from the three of them. But before Issei got up from the stretcher, Rhea approached and adjusted his tie, as well as straightening it, while Issei looked at her face, and she sent him a smile that was reciprocated by one from Issei. Well, there were two girls who were looking at them, one Momo with of course jealousy, and the other also with jealousy, that Tomo was surprised that she was jealous. So the four of them headed to the student council. While they were walking they heard murmurs like "Ah, Issei senpai is so cool" from the women of the men they were. Rhea, Tomo and Momo-san are really beautiful, until they reached their destination. When they entered they only found Sona and Tsubaki greeting them. Issei. Sona while calling everyone's attention, "I have bad news for you," and Rhea's while sitting on the armchair that was in the room. Sona. And those would be? While she stopped reading some papers. Issei. Well, I was going back to my house, I entered an alley that when I entered further while sitting on the sofa that was there I found black feathers and in front of them was a lifeless body. The strange thing is that it had a wound in the stomach as if it were pierced by a spear, in addition to the fact that I felt the presence that a sacred gear had. What does it mean? Sona. There are fallen angels in our territory and they are killing sacred gear bearers. Issei. Exactly, it can also benefit them to complete their entourage, or well, in your case, you have student papers that have a chance of having a sacred gear. Sona. I won't give all the papers to Rhea's, you're going to talk to her, aren't you? Issei. Yes, but when classes end, we must first finish the student council activities. Sona, well, you know what you have to do. Momo and Meguri-san, while receiving an affirmation from the two, well, you can leave while the two left the room, and you two will manage the warehouse and write down what is needed, in addition to arranging things in their place. Understood? While receiving an affirmation, well, you can leave to do your work. After finishing saying that, they went to the warehouse that was next to the gym, where they began to work. After working during all the classes it was almost time to leave, where they only needed to arrange a box on top of the shelf, so they brought a ladder so Rhea could climb up, where Issei grabbed the ladder so she wouldn't fall. But the small problem is that Rhea climbed too much and her panties could be seen. Well, Issei was surprised that she was using erotic panties like the ones we have seen in the anime with Rhea's and Akeno, and from his mind he was saying to himself, I'm going to enjoy it, how can you not imagine? Rhea. Good. While she put the box in the spare space and began to push it until she reached a point where it no longer fit, where she kept trying to get it in but without results. Oh well, let's try it, 1 2 3, so that she could push it with all her might, managing to get it in, yes, while she celebrated with her eyes closed. Until she opened them and saw that she was falling backwards. Oh, it can't be, while she closed her eyes in fear. Issei realized that Rhea was not on the stairs, seeing that she was falling as he positioned himself to grab her in his arms, achieving his goal. Rhea. Not feeling that she hit the ground, she opened her eyes, finding the boy she liked, saving herself from hitting the ground, giving him a smile that made her blush. Thanks, Issei-kun. While Issei took her down from his arms. Hey Issei, getting his attention, would you mind having a date with me this Saturday? Well, she looked away and played with her fingers Hinata style. Issei. Oh sure am. I would love to go on a date with you, while avoiding looking at her, because she looks so beautiful and cute doing that. How about we meet at 3 in front of the plaza? Rhea. Why? Yes, I agree. Will we return with Kaichu? Yes, I said it right since we finished our work. Issei. Ito, tell him that I'll be in the occult club, okay? Rhea. Well, see you then, Issei-kun. Bye. While giving him a smile that was reciprocated, while leaving the warehouse and going to the student council to give her report. Issei. Yes, goodbye Rhea-chan, as he left and began to head to the occult club. Once he arrived at the building, he decided to enter and head to the main room. Upon entering he found no one, so he decided to go sit on Rhea's chair, in addition to looking for the group's aura, realizing that next to this room were only Rhea's and Akeno, while the remaining two were in another room, so he decided to wait. Until the two entered with a tray of tea and a plate of cookies, while they did not notice the presence of Issei, where they sat on a sofa, where Rhea's grabbed a cup of tea and began to drink it. Issei. And there is none for me, scaring Rhea's, who spat out the tea, while Akeno looked at her amused. Hello again, Rhea's and Akeno-chan. Rhea's. Issei, I'm surprised you came, why have you come? While cleaning herself with a napkin. Issei. Well, I came to tell you about something, but I need your other servants to come, since you are the ones in charge of the renegade demons. And so it was that Issei received a cup of tea from Akeno, where he enjoyed it until after a while Kiba and Kaneko arrived. Issei. Well, I think I can start now and I'll get straight to the point. There are fallen angels in this city that are killing sacred gear bearers. Well, I saw Akeno's expression of disgust upon hearing the word fallen angel, which can benefit Urias, so that you can complete your entourage. They take you to a bear, and before they kill him you save them. Plus we must also be alert in case they attack them like you already do. Urias. Well, we do have a problem with them now, but you're right, maybe I can get servants this way. Issei. By the way, do you have documents about the students who have a chance of having a sacred gear? Urias. Yes, Akeno, can you do me a favor and bring them please? While Akeno entered the other room and came back with a few folders. Those are the only ones. Well, Issei grabbed the first one and opened it, finding the photo of his partner Kiryu, although I only think Kiryu is the only one who has a sacred gear. Issei. Well, if that's like that, then we have to keep an eye on her for anything. After all, the fallen angel won't confirm whether she has it or not. Well, that was all while he got up from Ria's chair and headed for the exit, but not before throwing a bag of candy to Kaneko, who received them. I hope that in the future, we have a sword fight Kiba while receiving an affirmation from him. So that Issei would completely leave the room. Then Issei went to the teacher's parking lot for his motorcycle and started it up to head towards his house, riding calmly until he stopped because the traffic light was red. Well, he looked next to him, finding a beautiful girl with violet eyes and a slim body, and she was wearing a school uniform, which consisted of a dark red jacket with the letter P embroidered in gold, a white t-shirt, a red bow and a green skirt with a thin white stripe around the bottom end of it. She turned to look at him and gave him a smile as she walked away, leaving an Issei with a smile and continuing on his way. Issei. Hahaha, I really am good at hiding my aura while increasing speed. 8 in surprise. Hide your residence, training room. Clearly you can't see a room, but instead you can see a mountainous place where there were peaks protruding from there, but we will focus on the top of a stone peak where our protagonist was, on a board in the lotus position, maintaining his balance so that he wouldn't fall. Suddenly an alarm began to be heard throughout the room, meaning that it was time to prepare to go to the academy. Thus, getting up on the board, well, the entire mountainous place disappeared and an empty room was seen, and thus Issei left it. And as always, taking a shower, changing into the academy uniform and adding his personal touch with a dress, vest and tie, then going downstairs and preparing breakfast for himself and Drake. To then go down to his garage to see what vehicle he was driving now, seeing that there were his 3 motorcycles, which were the Kawasaki Ninja H2R, the BMW and the Harley Davidson from 1955, in addition to his 2 cars, automobiles of the Bugatti brand, the first being the Divo model and the other being La Voiture Noire, and there were also 2 new cars. The first one was a Ferrari Model SF90 Stradale with a truly spectacular design that was truly beautiful to the eye of the car-loving man. While the other was a car produced by the German car company Apollo Automobile. It is a model that only 10 units of this car were created. The model was the Apollo Intensa Emozion. With a truly fantastic design, I mean fantastic, beautiful, magnificent, a beautiful car with curves that would drive you crazy like women. When he saw the 2 new cars, all he did was jump for joy while he examined them in different points to see if anything had happened to them, until he got tired and was on top of the Apollo's intensely emotional trunk while he caressed it very slowly and said in a low voice that he was now at home with daddy, until he saw his watch on his left wrist and realized that he was running late. So he grabbed his briefcase and got into his Ferrari to start it, leaving his garage and heading towards the academy. While on the streets he drove through, he could hear the powerful engine of the Ferrari as he increased his speed and began to dodge cars like a true professional. Until he arrived at the academy and caught the attention of the few students left at the entrance. Well, they already had an idea of who the owner of that car was, while Issei went to the teacher's parking lot to leave his precious baby. Guo Academy, Hall 2C. And Issei can be seen entering calmly even though his face said he was lazy, as he headed to his seat to sit down, while a cute girl with glasses and slightly messy brown hair approached. Kiryu. Hey Issei, while getting his attention, maybe I can trust you and you're surrounded by girls, but yesterday when I was going back to my house I ran into a cute boy named Ryuji Sakamoto and he asked me to go out and I refused, but he kept begging and begging, even though I kept rejecting him. So he only asked me to at least agree to go out on a date with him on Saturday, and well, I ended up accepting, so I don't know how I can dress for the date. Issei. Well, I guess the only thing I can say is that you can wear whatever you feel most comfortable in. After all, you are a pretty girl who would look beautiful in any type of clothing you wear. Kiryu. Do you really think I would look beautiful in whatever I'm wearing? While she was blushing, while receiving a nod from Issei. Well, thanks Issei-kun, while she retreated to her place. Issei. Yeah, goodbye. While turning to look outside the window, well, they've already made their move, all that's left is to make ours. And so he stayed looking outside until he fell asleep while the teacher continued explaining, and he did not take it important since he knew that he always got good grades, and so he stayed for a long time until the bell rang that meant the clear break, causing him to wake up and decide to go to the occult club to talk about what Kiryu told him. When he left, by pure chance he met Ria, who saw him. Ria. Oh, hello Issei-kun, are you heading to the student council? As she finished approaching. Issei. Hello Ria-chan, and this time I am directing myself to the occult club to talk to Ria's. You are heading to the council, right? While receiving a nod from her in response, well, can you do me the favor of telling Sona that I will be in the occult club? Ria. Oh yeah, sure, I'll tell him. Hey Issei, are you going to keep your word to teach me how to drive? Issei. Of course I told you yesterday that I would teach you today, so wait for me at the exit of the academy, okay? Yeah. Understood. Well, goodbye Issei. And I hope you keep your word. While she approached him to give him a kiss on the cheek and started to walk away without looking back. Well, there was an Issei with a smile as he watched her leave so that she could then return to her course towards the occult club. Once he arrived at the building of said club, he decided to enter and go to the main room of it, knocking on the door, waiting until they offered him the pass. Upon entering, he found Arias reading some documents behind her desk, while there was an Akeno sitting on the couch drinking some tea. Well, he went to the couch where Akeno was and lay down and closed his eyes. In addition to using Akeno's legs as a pillow, which she did not care one bit when she saw that, and the only thing she did was continue drinking her tea with one hand and with the other start caressing our protagonist's hair. Well, there was Aria that saw everything she did, and the only thing her face expressed was one of annoyance and a little jealousy. Without her realizing it, she was wrinkling the document she had in her hands until she realized. Arias. Hello Issei, it's a surprise that you come to visit us. What do I owe your visit to? While trying to flatten the paper that she crumpled. Issei. Well, he had his eyes closed and enjoyed Akeno's caress as well. I had no other place to rest without being disturbed and be comfortable at the same time, but that's not the reason. This morning when I arrived at my classroom, Kiryu approached me and told me that a boy asked her out and wanted to ask me what she should wear. But the point is that I think the angels or fallen angel have already started their move, so I think the most convenient thing is for someone from your entourage to start watching her for anything. Arias. Well, I have no problem with you resting here, after all I do too, but with Kiryu, I will send Kaneko to watch her, after all she is very skilled at hiding. Well, if you allow me, I will continue with this annoying paperwork. Issei. Good luck with that, while raising a hand with his thumb up. And thanks for letting me rest here while he settled in, and an Akeno who enjoyed stroking his hair. And so the hours and hours of academy classes passed, where Rias focused completely on the paperwork she had, thus finishing with an hour to spare before the bell rang that meant the end of classes. Then she could see that Issei and Akeno fell asleep. Then she decided to go prepare some tea and sit on the other armchair that was in the room that was free and began to read a book about the rating game. Until after a while the bell rang, causing Issei to wake up, seeing that Rias was reading a book and that he realized that she had woken up while Akeno was still sleeping, deciding to lay her completely on the couch so that she would not be uncomfortable. Well, Rias realized that she had woken up and what she was doing, staying silent. Issei. It seems you finished early, right? Well, I didn't think I would sleep for the remaining hours of class, but thank you, I hadn't slept for a while heading for the exit. Rias. Yeah, it wasn't as much paperwork as Sona has, but why had you not slept for a while? Issei. Well, you're right about that, and answering your question, well, I train from dusk until an hour before the academy, and why I do it, well, I may reach the power of a god, but there will be enemies who have the power of a god or even more than one, so I don't need to be confident and continue increasing my power to protect my friends or in the future my partner or partners. Rias. Oh wow, you're right, after all in the supernatural world there are a lot of surprises. While looking at her book, to look at the door again without finding Issei. Issei. While hugging her from behind, causing her to be surprised by such a sudden hug. But thank you, I think this is a way I can thank you. Well, it came to his mind to do something else, and so doing what he thought, giving Rias a small kiss on the cheek, causing her to blush. Well, goodbye Rias-chan, well, he let go of her and started to head to the door and then leave through it. But not before winking at Rias, causing her to blush more than she already was. Well, we see our protagonist walking very calmly towards the teacher's parking lot since he told Ria to wait for him there. Upon arriving, he could see that there was a group of friends taking photos while posing next to his Ferrari, while Issei upon seeing this just smiled at that since he knew that anyone would dream of having a car like that, letting them finish their photo shoot. Until after a while they finished and left from there. Issei, seeing this, was finally able to approach his car and wait leaning on it for Ria to arrive, and as if they had heard him, she arrived. Ria. Hello Issei. While approaching our protagonist, this is your car, right? While pointing at the beautiful Ferrari he was leaning on. Issei. Sure. While hugging him, he's my precious baby along with the others, but well, it's time to go, so go on monkeys. Well, he opened the passenger door for her to get in and close it while he got into the driver's seat, then turned it on and left the parking lot. So they started driving through the streets of the city, increasing the speed at certain times, and Ria was surprised to see how Issei drove as if he were a professional driver until they came to a red light. Issei. Well, in this area there are few cars, so it's a good place for you to learn while parking, so they could change places. Ria. Are you sure Issei? Well, he was in the pilot seat. I mean, it's a beautiful car as well as expensive, but are you sure he'll learn with this one? Well, Issei put his seatbelt on. Issei. Yes, and I'm going to be with you, so if anything happens I'll intervene, so don't worry, everything will be fine. While he stroked her head, so pay attention to what I tell you. So that later he began to give her instructions on what to do and on the pedals, how she had to use them, and the gear lever. Obviously there were almost no problems with the lever, since sports cars are mostly automatic, where there are others that use both modes, standard or manual. And so beginning with his teaching, where there were moments where he accelerated too much or braked suddenly or started driving very slowly, where Issei could not think of another way to teach him until something came to mind. Issei. Well, I have no other way to teach you. Well, Rhea lowered her head, or that's what I would say if it were true. Well, Rhea looked at his face. Well, I thought of one last way to teach you, but the problem is if you allow me to do it. Rhea. What is your last way to teach me? Well, Issei looked away when he saw her and then looked at her again. Issei. Well, the way I can teach you is if I sit as a pilot and you sit on my legs and I give you instructions. Rhea. Oh, I see. While blushing. Well, if it is like that, it is not a problem for me if you teach me that way, while giving a smile to Is, who simply smiled when he saw her cute smile. And so doing what Issei said, where at first they were both blushing until after a while they controlled themselves, where Issei began to teach him how to move the steering wheel while he used the pedals, where Issei put his hands on top of Rhea's, and they started like that, where at first it was complicated, but as he tried he improved until he could move the steering wheel fluently. Now it was time for the pedals, or rather accelerating and braking. Well, let's say it was the same as with the hands, but now with the legs, where Rhea sometimes slipped her foot and accelerated too much, or also braked in a very delicate way, in addition to moving the steering wheel or driving, until after several attempts she improved until it was no longer difficult for her to drive. It was beginning to get dark in the city of Kuo, with a beautiful view that can be seen when the sun goes down, so that the moon rises, but we focused on a Ferrari that was traveling through the streets at dusk, and they were also half deserted, although there were a few cars traveling through them. But if we look more closely at the person driving the Ferrari, it was a beautiful girl with brown hair and a blue headband, while she was sitting on the legs of a black-haired boy with purple eyes with a beauty that looked like a papacho, and whose face was carved by the angels themselves, Akno. Until the Ferrari arrived at a mansion, parking in front of it while turning off its engine and opening the door so that the beautiful girl with a beautiful name, who was a queen, could come out first, followed by our protagonist. Issei. Well, we finally arrived home sweet home while closing the door of the Ferrari. Rhea. Wow, I'm really surprised where you're living, while looking at the house in surprise. Issei. Well, I used to live here when I was little until I went to train. When I finished my training, they gave me the keys to my house, but I was surprised that now it was a mansion, but I am happy in it. Rhea. Oh, and you only live your truth. While receiving an affirmation in response. Well, seeing that it's already getting dark, I think it's time for me to go. Issei. Ah, before you go, Rhea-chan here, while giving her the keys to her Ferrari, so you can have a little more fun. Rhea. But it's your Ferrari. While she was surprised by what Issei did. Besides, I can't, it's not mine. What if something happens to it? Issei. Calm down, I don't think anything could happen to you, and if that happens it can be fixed, so go ahead and use it as if it were yours. Rhea. But before she could say anything else, Issei placed his finger on her lips, making her understand not to say anything else. Issei. Use it as if it were yours, don't worry that it's mine, in fact think that it's yours. From now on you can ask me for the car as many times as you want, so go ahead and go with peace of mind. Rhea. Well, I understand, so thank you, Issei, while she hugged him, and her hug was reciprocated. Issei. You're welcome. As they separated, and Rhea began to head to the car. Have fun with him. Rhea. Of course I will. While opening the car door. By the way, I'm looking forward to our date, Issei-kun. Issei. Me too, remember that we'll meet in front of the mall at 3. After finishing saying that, she got into the car and closed the door, so that she then started the car, listening to the beautiful sound that the engine produced and accelerated, while Issei just watched as she walked away, so that he then decided to enter his house. Time skip. During the next day at the academy, the students saw that the Ferrari arrived, thinking that Issei had arrived, but they were surprised to see only Rhea get out, and she put the lock on and entered the academy, so that after a while a car arrived that it turned out to be a McLaren P1 that caught their attention, so that later our dear protagonist got out and also put the lock on and entered the academy. Although Rhea was asked many questions about how she managed to get Issei's car or if they became a couple, where she blushed upon hearing that, well, Issei, well, it was the same as always, falling asleep or having him teach the class, but the peculiar thing is that sometimes he stayed talking to Kiryu in class until the bell rang that meant break. Issei went to the student council, where they asked him why Rhea was driving his Ferrari, and that, where he told the truth that he had lent it to her so that she could later do her job in the student council. And besides finishing the academy schedule and then going home to prepare something to eat and then going into the room to train, thus ending the day. Well, on this last day of school of the week it was the same as Issei always does, only with the difference that at night he couldn't sleep thinking that tomorrow he would have his date with Ria and Kiryu too, plus he knows what would happen to her, although they are not such good friends, and as soon as they started talking more, he began to grow fond of her. While in other parts with Ria and Kiryu they were in the same case that they could not sleep, maybe it was because of the excitement or the nerves of it being their first date, until after a while without doing anything the three of them were finally able to fall asleep, thus finally falling asleep each one in their home. End of time skip. It was a new day, but not just a day, but something glorious for the students and a few workers, and it was the famous weekend, where they could rest for 2 days in a row and enjoy them as they please, but let's leave that aside. We will focus on our protagonist who was sleeping peacefully in his mansion until the sun's rays came in and caused him to wake up. When he woke up he stretched a little and then went to a room he recently added where he put in hot springs so he could take a few nice baths and relax. When he finished his bath it occurred to him to play a song throughout the house that he had recently heard and loved, which was Scorpion Still Loving You. If you have heard it or are listening to it, leave a comment whether you liked it or not. While he was heading to his room to put something on, when he left his room, he saw that our protagonist was wearing a long-sleeved wine-colored dress shirt that looked like it was black, along with equally dressy black pants and elegant black shoes, so that later our protagonist would go down to prepare breakfast. But before getting ready he decided to put on some jazz music so that he could enjoy the moment he was at home, and then now he would make himself breakfast, although he ended up making a small buffet for himself and his beloved companion Drake. When he finished eating until he could not eat anymore, he took the used plates to the sink and rolled up his sleeves and took off his watch so that he could wash without problems and also so that he would not get wet, thus beginning to wash while enjoying the music that could be heard throughout the house. When he finished washing and stopped the music and drying his hands, he put his watch back on and checked the time, seeing that he had 3 hours left before his appointment, deciding to go to his living room and sit in front of his flat screen while he grabbed the remote control to turn the TV on and turn on one of his consoles, which was the PlayStation 4, and start playing Batman Arkham Knight. Where he remained very focused on the story but decided to check the time seeing that he had half an hour left for his date, where he decided to stop playing to leave since this time he planned to walk, thus leaving his house to head towards where he would meet Ria. When he arrived he saw that he had 10 minutes left, where he decided to wait for her. As the minutes passed, he looked for her with his eyes until he could see that beautiful brown hair along with a blue headband that characterized her approaching him. When Issei had her in front of him, he was really stunned since Ria was wearing a light brown skirt which reached her knees along with some sneakers as well as wearing a blue blouse which made her look really beautiful. Ria. There's something wrong with me. While she had a little blush and looked away in embarrassment. Issei. Oh no, of course there's nothing wrong with you, just that you really look beautiful, while giving her a smile which made Ria blush more. Ria. Thank you, and you look good in those clothes too, while giving him a smile that made Issei blush because of the sight he had of her appreciating her beauty more. Issei. Boo. Well, let's start with our date. While he offered his arm, Ria accepted upon seeing that. And so beginning with their date, where they began to walk around the mall while talking animatedly, in addition to being the center of attention, where Issei caught the attention of the women and Ria received jealous glances from the women for having at her side that man who stole the size of teenagers and a few ladies. While Ria caught the attention of men for her beauty, several men looked with jealousy or hatred at Issei for having such a beautiful woman by his side, where the two downplayed it and continued with their date. Where they entered several clothing stores and tried on several items of clothing while having fun, so that later they decided to go to the movies, where Ria chose a romance movie. When they finished watching the movie, when they left they decided to go eat something, entering a family restaurant where they decided to eat a small dessert to calm their hunger. When they left they saw that it was getting dark, so they decided to walk a little longer. They walked for a while until they reached a park, giving it a beautiful view of the park and the sky, until Ria stopped, calling Issei's attention. Ria. Issei-kun, I want to tell you something, while she lowered her head in shame and also had a little blush as her heartbeat began to get faster. Issei. What do you want to tell me, Ria-chan? While standing in front of her. Ria. I like you, while saying the last thing in a very low voice, but Issei could hear it. Issei. What was it you said, Ria-chan? Well, he was a little surprised by what he had heard, but he wanted to confirm it. Ria. I like you, Hyoudou. Issei, while she looked at his face and saw that he had a smile, while she had a noticeable blush. You are a boy who gives respect to all women, treating them as if they were the most precious in the world. Besides that, you are responsible, sometimes affectionate, and you have helped me sometimes without receiving anything in return. That is what made me fall in love with you little by little, while she looked down in shame for having confessed. Issei. To be honest, I like you too, Rhea. Well, he approached her and gently grabbed her chin and raised her gaze so she could see his face. You are a polite girl as well as gentle and beautiful, but you are a girl who has earned my trust and heart over time that I knew you until I came to the conclusion of wanting to spend my days with you by my side. But I didn't tell you because I didn't know if you felt the same and I didn't want to ruin our friendship and have you stop talking to me, but with what you told me now I'm sure I can say it. Would you like to hang out with this dragon? When Issei finished saying that, the only thing this queen did was join her lips with Issei's in a small inexperienced kiss, but one that showed love and affection on the part of both of them until they separated, where they had a wide smile, in addition to staying hugged for a while. Issei. That's a yes, right? Well, they separated because of what Issei said, and then laughed. Rhea. Of course, silly, while hugging him again to feel that tranquility that Issei gave her. Until after a while they separated again, so they could enjoy each other's company. Now that they were a couple, everything was going well, until Issei felt something strange, where an aura of a fallen angel passed, until he turned to where a fountain was, where Rhea, seeing that Issei was acting weird, decided to look where he was looking, coming across the following scene, the two of them. The Kiryu was surprised by what she had in front of her. The supposed boy who asked her out was flying in front of her with a pair of wings coming out of his back, while he had a spear of light in his right hand. Until something happened that was the trigger for Issei, and that something was that the fallen angel threw his spear at him, piercing Kiryu's stomach, while the fallen angel prepared another spear to end his suffering. When he finished throwing it, he was halfway there when he collided with another spear that ended up buried in a tree, which caught the attention of the fallen angel, seeing the appearance of the spear, assuming it was a sacred gear, and then the spear disappeared. Fallen angel. Whoever you are, show yourself, damned human, while trying to look for him with his eyes, until he received a kick in the back that sent him crashing. Issei. Damn you, you will pay for what you did, while falling elegantly to the ground, in addition to having his spear in his right hand. Kiryu. I know that voice. Until he saw Issei with a spear in his hand. Is Issei. Rhea. Well, I arrived with Kiryu. Calm down, don't overexert yourself. While I tried to apply healing magic to him. Angel C. What's your name, brat? As he emerged from the small crater created by his fall and cleaned off the dust he had on him. Issei. Hi to Issei and yours, fallen angel. While he was in front of him, but with a distance separating them, while he had his spear resting on his shoulder. Donasik. My name is Donasik, so remember the brat because it will be the last thing you remember. Well, his appearance changed, and now he looked older, and now he looked like a pederast rapist. As he lunged at Issei with a spear of light in his hand, a battle of spears or spear against Naginata began, where only metal colliding with light and giving off sparks and the sound of metal colliding could be seen. While with Kiryu and Rhea, things were not going well at all, since the healing magic he was applying to them was of no use. Rhea. Shit, why doesn't it work? While continuing to apply healing magic, while Kiryu only saw what was happening around her. Kiryu. It really hurts, but from what I hear I think there's no way I can be saved. Damn, if only I hadn't accepted the date, I would still be alive, and especially be in classes with Hyoudou. Only if only there was a way for me to live. While a pamphlet in her bag began to shine, only one way would she accept it to be able to continue living and tell Issei that I like him. Well, the pamphlet or brochure shone brighter and came out of her bag and was floating above them, while Rhea recognized the symbol that the pamphlet had and separated from Kiryu. While from the pamphlet a redeed began to appear that Kiryu and Rhea recognized and saw what was happening around them. Rhea's curse could only appear in this way. While approaching Kiryu and Rhea, the healing magic didn't work right. While receiving a denial from Rhea. Well, I suppose you would like to live longer, right? While Kiryu with a little strength he had nodded. Well, if it is like that, while taking out a pawn, seeing that he rejected it, and so taking out more pawns until he took out 4 pawns, and they entered Kiryu's body. Rhea's, well, all that's left is to heal his wound, while making Kiryu disappear with a magic circle. But changing, we have another problem in front of us, even though it seems that Issei has it under control. While watching the fight that Issei was having until he sent Donasik crashing into a tree with a blow, while he came out of the rubble again. Donasik. Damn, I'll kill you, while creating a spear and continuing to increase its power and size. Until a large spear of light could be seen that was launched by him that was going towards Issei, where Rhea and Rhea were going to intervene until they saw that Issei launched his Naginata, where he heard Issei penetrate, that he was going at an impressive speed, that when he collided with the spear of light it disappeared, causing terror and panic in Donasik, seeing that the spear was approaching him where he tried to escape, but before it took flight the spear finally reached its target, burying itself in Donasik's stomach, while he spat out a little blood. Issei disappeared from his sight and appeared in front of him while burying the spear further, causing more pain to Donasik, until Issei felt a spear coming at him from behind, where he withdrew his Naginata and dodged the spear of light that ended up burying itself in Donasik. While Issei saw a beautiful girl flying in a revealing outfit that was made of leather straps that covered her parts and had shoulder pads with spikes, as well as wearing leather boots that reached above the knee, like leather gloves that covered her entire forearm. Angel C. Wow, you sure have some snotty reflexes, but seeing what you did with Donasi, I expected it. Issei. Ria, get out of here, I don't want anything to happen to you while I fight, plus I can't fight freely, so do me that small favor and heal Kiryu. Rias. But Issei, it's 2 against 1, what if more fallen angels arrive? He was going to continue talking, but Ria touched his shoulder. Ria. Let's listen to him this time, so we better go help Kiryu where Rias understood as her clan's magic circle appeared below them, but not before modifying it, so that Ria could also travel and they began to disappear. Just take care of yourself, Issei-kun, where she received a nod from Issei as a response until they disappeared completely. Issei. Well, since they are not here, I think we can start with this right away. Well, a magic circle appeared under him and went through it completely, and now our protagonist could be seen with the Intetsu armor. Well, 2 more girls appeared, a blonde-haired girl in a gothic outfit and a blue-haired girl in a business suit, while Issei created a barrier around them. Well, shall we start now? A pretty nun in the city. Well, what can I say about this scene? There were only black feathers all around the area, like a few stains and pools of blood from a small massacre, but let's focus on someone, our protagonist, who was standing with one foot on the stomach of the fallen angel named Rainer, while threatening her with his naginata near her neck. Well, her appearance was not very good, since she had several cuts on her arms, but she had an expression of complete fear. But Issei, I think, well, he was wearing his armor with blood stains, while he had a serious face, as if he didn't care what happened around him, or if he had blood stains, but what happened to the other fallen angels who were there. Well, the fallen angel who looked like he was a pederast was lying near a tree, even though the trunk of it was stained with blood, but the strange thing about the angel is that his face was covered in blood and he could no longer be recognized, in addition to having the wounds that Issei and Rainer's spear made him. Well, we move on to the remaining 2, let's start with the blonde-haired girl. She was lying in some bushes while there was a pool of blood around her, but the little that could be seen on her was that she had several wounds and the white socks she had were now dyed red and the rest of her body was covered by the bush. And the blue-haired girl, well, she was leaning against a tree, well, she had a wound in her chest as if she had been pierced, but the tree she was in had a hole as if she had been pierced anyway, but the expression that the angel had was what caught the most attention. It was an expression of complete terror, but let's focus on our protagonist. Issei. Well, you already saw what I did with your friends, so you're going to tell me everything you know about their plans. That's if you don't want to die right now. Well, he brought his naginata closer to his neck, while Rainer nodded slightly. Well, start talking. Where Rainer told him all the plans they had planned, where the first was to take the sacred gear from a nun who would arrive tomorrow or today since it was after midnight, where she would plant it since she felt that she was the most suitable to use it. But what caught Issei's attention the most was that they were receiving it from a fallen angel from the high command, and that was the only thing she knew. Issei. Well, that would be all. Where Rainer thought she would free her, so she dies while a weapon, pistol or revolver appeared and shot her in the head, killing her instantly. Seeing how the park was, she just snapped her 2 fingers, where everything began to return to normal, as if nothing had happened, and created a magic circle beneath it and began to slowly disappear. The cult club. When Rias and Ria arrived at the club, they saw that only Akeno was applying healing magic to Kiryu, who was lying on the couch in the room, where Rias decided to help Akeno with the process, while Ria just went to look through the window, although she was worried about Issei, but she knew he was not weak at all, trying to calm down. As the hours passed, when they finished healing Kiryu, Akeno decided to go get some tea for the 3 of them, while Rias and Ria sat on the other armchair, with nothing to talk about, until after a while, Akeno arrived with a tray where she had the teapot and 3 cups and a plate with cookies, where each one grabbed a cup to drink. Where the 3 of them stayed talking about anything like a girl's night, although Akeno brought up a topic about Issei where she began to say quite a few lustful things that she would do to him, where Rias and Ria had a clear blush when imagining themselves in those moments, until they saw that a magic circle appeared that they did not know and they stopped talking. While the 3 of them prepared a magic circle to attack at anything. And Issei came out of the magic circle, even though he still had his armor on, seeing that it was stained with blood, causing panic in Ria, who was quick with him. Ria. Issei, you're okay, nothing happened to you. Well, she began to examine him. You're hurt, but what a joy to see you again, while giving him a little kiss, where there were Rias and Akeno surprised by what he did. Issei. Calm down, I'm fine, this is not my blood, but more importantly, how's Kiryu? Rias. She's feeling better now, she's just resting there, while pointing at Kiryu, who was sleeping peacefully on the couch. But Issei, can you tell me what relationship you have with Ria? Issei. I'm glad you're okay, and answering your question is that she's my girlfriend. Well, Ria hugged one of his arms. Well, see you until Monday at the academy, since I want to take a shower and rest for a while. By the way, I'll take Kiryu, so she can rest like you too. Ria's. Oh, are you sure? I mean, it's not that I have a problem with it, but are you sure you want to take it? Issei. Yes, besides I don't want him to sleep uncomfortably while he approached her to pick her up, seeing that she didn't wake up, and you two need to rest because of the magic exhaustion you did. Well, he approached Ria with Kiryu in his arms, so goodbye, while a magic circle of Issei was created and they disappeared. Bakeno. It seems that Ria-chan beat us while calling Ria's attention for what she said, but surely being a dragon she will have more partners, so there is nothing to worry about Ria's. What are you saying, Akeno? While blushing, let's go rest. While they left the club. Hyoudou residence. Issei's magic circle appears in the middle of the room where Issei, Ria and Kiryu come out, even though Issei was still carrying her. Ria. Issei, are you sure I stayed overnight? I mean, you can send me home through a magic circle, or I can go alone. Issei. Calm down, there's no problem with you staying today, so go on, make yourself at home or my house is your house, but come, I'll show you where you'll stay. Well, he began to climb the stairs with Kiryu in his arms and Ria at his side, even though she was impressed with her boyfriend's house, since she only saw it from the outside. As they went up to the first floor and went up to the second floor, where Issei decided to leave Kiryu in a room that was next to his in case she woke up at night. Well, he left her lying in bed and went to his room for something, where he returned with one of his white shirts in his hands and asked Ria if he could change her, since her clothes were stained with blood, where she accepted, and Issei left the room, where after a while Ria came out and carefully closed the door. Issei. Thanks for helping me change it, Ria-chan. While he was leaning against a wall, you can choose the room you want. Ria. Oh, how generous. Well, a bit of sarcasm was heard, so I'll take the room next to Kiryu. While she approached Issei and hugged him, and he reciprocated her hug also. Thank you for letting me stay, Issei-kun. Issei. Well, I couldn't afford to kick you out and send you home alone when something could happen to you, and I also apologize for what I did when we were on our date. Ria. It was nothing, you wanted to help your friend and classmate, besides I'm very happy, and I can ask you out on whatever dates I want now that I'm your girlfriend, while giving her a little kiss. Issei. Speaking of which, I think you need to know something, and I hope you don't get angry or we break up while looking at her, and that is that I'm also dating someone. Before I entered the academy, and before her I met a beautiful girl that I lived with during my training in the forest, until I decided to separate from her, but not before telling her that I like her. Where she also told me that she liked me and making a promise that we would see each other again in the future. I'm sorry if I didn't tell you or the others, but where Ria placed a finger on her lips. Ria. Don't say anything else, I'm sure you had your reasons, so I have no problem sharing you. I know you're a dragon and maybe in the future you'll have more partners, so I have no problem. I'm happy that at least you love me and I have a place in your heart. Issei. While hugging her, and I assure you that I will love you forever and that you will always be in my heart. So then they separate and Issei goes to his room to take a shower, but not before saying goodbye to his girlfriend with a small kiss on the lips, where she gladly accepts the kiss and enters the room he chose. When she entered, she turned on the light and saw how big the room was, like the things it had, but she tried to downplay it and headed to the bathroom. After a while, when she came out, she was only in her underwear, which was a strong blue color, as well as hexy and provocative, where she turned off the light in the room and went to lie down in the big bed she had and fell asleep. Until after a while she woke up, as she felt very cold, and there was a kind of warmth that called her, where she got up from where she was lying, and followed that warmth that she felt as if she wanted to feel it closer, where she left her room to follow that warmth. Until she entered a room that was Issei's, where upon entering she felt that warmth coming from Issei. She almost didn't care, she only cared about feeling that warmth closer, where she got closer and closer, where she saw that there was a shirt of Issei lying around, where she decided to put it on, seeing that it was too big for her, where she decided to continue on her way. Which was where Issei was sleeping. When she arrived, what she did was get into bed under the blankets or sheets, as you know them, and get to where she was sleeping, where she didn't care how close they were or if she was in her underwear. She wanted to feel that warmth and tranquility that she felt when she was with Issei, where she only settled closer to Issei's chest, feeling that sleep was overcoming her until she fell asleep. While there was an Issei who felt her presence when she entered his room and felt her get closer to the bed, where he decided to pretend to be asleep and see what Ria was doing, until he felt her get under the sheets that covered him, until she reached more or less the height of his chest, where she just stuck closer to him, until he half opened one eye, watching her slowly fall asleep. Where Issei just smiled, seeing how beautiful she looked with one of his shirts on and while sleeping, where the only thing Issei did was hug her to fall asleep. It was a new day and the last day of rest for the students, where some began to do the homework they didn't do yesterday, while others didn't give a damn. But let's focus on a house, or that's what I would say, since it looked more like a mansion, but we focused on a room where our protagonist was sleeping, but next to him was a beautiful, I mean beautiful, where the two were sleeping peacefully until our protagonist slowly woke up until he had a clear view where he saw the position he was in with his dear and current girlfriend, where the two were hugging each other while there was a queen who had a small smile being like that. That our protagonist was not a prince at all and enjoyed being with her like that until he decided to separate from her, where she put on a face of not wanting to separate until Issei gave her a little kiss on the forehead where she put on a smile and our protagonist was able to leave without problems. Where our protagonist stayed for a while appreciating how beautiful she looked while he thought that he would protect her from all evil that put her in danger, such as protecting that beautiful smile that would brighten his days every time he was with her. After a while of appreciating her and taking a photo as a souvenir, he left the room, carefully closing the door so as not to wake her up. Where he was going to head to the kitchen to prepare something, but first he took a look at the room that this Kiryu was using to see if she hadn't woken up, seeing that she was still sleeping, where he carefully closed the door to continue on his way to the kitchen, where he decided to prepare something for the 3 or 4 of them counting Drake. After a while in Issei's room we can see a king who woke up where she was alone in bed, where she decided to leave the room to go get her clothes. When she left she received a delicious aroma that made her feel hungry. She began to follow the aroma to see where it came from, going down to the kitchen where she found a table with several plates of food, as if it were a small buffet, which just seeing them made her hungrier, until she found an Issei cooking alone dressed in sleep pants showing off his marked torso, which Rhea blushed slightly just seeing Issei's marked back. When Issei finished cooking, he turned around to arrange the dish he had in his hands, meeting a king who turned redder when she saw his marked abdomen, where he only put on an amused smile when he saw her face, while he went to the table to arrange the last dish he had in his hands. Issei. I see you've already woken up, while he approached her and gave her a small kiss on the lips that she gladly accepted, besides that you look beautiful in that shirt, well he gave her a smile that made her blush. Well, let's eat it once, I'm hungry. Drake. Don't worry, I'm already ahead. While the Drake was seen eating a plate of hot cakes. Issei. Good thing I did more, while helping Rhea to sit down and he sits next to her. Where they gave the itadakimasu and started eating, where Rhea enjoyed and delighted in the taste of the food that Issei prepared, where after a while they continued eating they saw Kiryu come down while she looked at the house with distrust until she saw a scene where Rhea was feeding Issei in the mouth. Kiryu. Ito Issei, where he caught the attention of the two, where a queen blushed too much because they saw her feeding Issei, where Issei got up from his seat and went to where Kiryu was, where she blushed when she saw his naked torso. Issei. Kiryu, are you okay? Does the wound you got yesterday still hurt? Kiryu was surprised when he heard that. Kiryu. No, the wound doesn't hurt anymore. Well, he was surprised to hear that it wasn't a dream. Then what happened yesterday wasn't a dream. Issei. Come, I'll explain everything to you. Well, you eat something, while he directed her to an available seat near him. Where after an explanation about what happened yesterday, as well as that he was now part of Rhea's entourage, as well as a story about the supernatural world and the reincarnation of demons. We can find a Kiryu who was completely surprised by Issei's detailed explanation about the supernatural world and about the sacred gear, and she was also surprised to learn that Rhea's Gremory and Sona Shitori or Citri were high-class devils and that she belonged to Rhea's entourage and that he was also a supernatural being, specifically a dragon, one with the power of a god. Kiryu. So now I'm a reincarnated devil, while receiving a nod from Issei, plus you're a dragon with the power of a dragon, while receiving another nod. I didn't expect that one. I mean, I didn't fully believe that supernatural beings existed, but with everything you said, now this does assure me of their existence. Issei. Hahaha, don't worry, that's what some would say when they find out about the supernatural world, but besides bringing you here I would like to help you awaken your sacred gear and help you train with it. What do you think? Kiryu. Well, you're right, and seriously thank you for wanting to help me with my sacred gear, and rest assured that I will try hard. Issei. Well, I hope so go finish breakfast so you can go change or go home to change, or the easiest thing is I'll create some sportswear for you, although I'm more inclined to go with the third one, so that will be it, because we will start your training today. While he got up and left the kitchen. And so it was that the day began at our protagonist's residence, where our protagonist went to his room to take a shower to change, while in the kitchen there was a Kiryu who was having breakfast and enjoying the food, who thought that he had made her queen, but was surprised to know that it was none other than Issei. In addition to being surprised to see a small red dragon on a plate with its back turned, well, it was seen that it was very happy while it had its eyes closed like its tongue out. I apologize if I put Drake with a pet attitude. Even though he had his doubts about talking to Rhea to find out what kind of relationship she had with Issei, but before she spoke she got up and took the dishes that were dirty and without food, like the cups or glasses they used to the sink, so he could start washing them. leaving a Kiryu on the table where she decided to finish eating. Once she finished, she got up and took the plate to the sink where Rhea was washing and then headed to the stairs to go up to her room, where she decided to take a shower first. When she finished, she saw that she only had her dress that she used yesterday that was stained with blood, where she put it on even though she felt uncomfortable, and also because it was perforated where her abdomen was, and to finish she put on her sneakers that had a little heel, so that she could finally go down. Going down, he found an Issei who was dressed in an elegant suit completely black that consisted only of the shirt like the pants and shoes, where the suit fit him perfectly, while he was having a little chat with Rhea until they noticed his presence, where Issei turned to see her finding a Kiryu who was wearing a beautiful floral dress but had a hole in the abdomen, showing her flat stomach. Rhea, so you will or will not do it, Issei-kun, while calling the attention of this one who was looking at Kiryu. Issei, ah yeah, so go quickly get changed before we start, where a king ran away with a smile from ear to ear, as if she were a little girl who had her whim granted, leaving the two of them in the living room. Issei, well, you can't train like this, and I don't want you to go and be seen with that damaged dress, so I'll create another one for you, while creating her magic circle underneath her and running through it. Now we can see a Kiryu with totally different clothes, which left a touch of elegance as well as a bit of history. Kiryu, Ito, Issei, are you sure I can train with this kind of clothes? While moving, as if he was getting used to it. Issei, oh yeah, sure, those clothes do suit you, you have a touch of elegance with them. Also, I created that type of special clothing for you where you can activate it as a sacred gear, and I say special because I made it so that the parts where you receive damage can regenerate. What I mean is that nothing will happen to your clothes. In short, it will regenerate every time you receive a cutter attack while winking. Issei, well, he saw Rhea coming down. I will also create special clothes with you. Well, Issei's magic circle appeared under her and he walked through it, and now he found a Rhea who, the clothes she was using suited her well, and that also gave her a touch of elegance. Rhea, hey Issei, why isn't mine more like a magician's or something, since I'm a bishop, while looking at her new outfit. Issei, well, you'll have to wait for the reason, since we first need Kiryu to awaken his sacred gear. As he began to walk, and they followed him behind, until they reached a room that upon entering there was nothing special, until Issei closed the door, where the landscape completely changed, and now a forest with a lake and waterfall near them could be found. Issei, well, let's start with you, Kiryu, while standing in front of her and putting his hands in his pockets. There are several ways to awaken a sacred gear, but I think this may be the easiest, so close your eyes and try to remember something or someone powerful that you have seen or met. Well, Kiryu did what Issei said, where he closed his eyes and tried to think of something or someone powerful, which came to mind when Issei appeared and faced the fallen angel. While that was happening inside her, outside you could see that purple rays were beginning to form until there was a small explosion, where a sphere of electrical energy was formed. Where Kiryu, still with his eyes closed, instinctively stretched out his two arms in front of the sphere and brought his palms together, making the sphere disappear, so that he would then separate it and a katana would begin to form, and he would grab it with his right hand and put it away in a white sheath, and Kiryu would begin to slowly open his eyes. Issei, haha, it didn't cost you anything to awaken your sacred gear, but I'm surprised that you're a pawn for having a knight-style sacred gear, and the best of all is that it's the Narukami, a katana that uses interesting lightning. But well, seeing that you use a katana, we'll start with your balance and concentration, so while giving 2 claps and 2 high stone peaks began to form, you will climb with a board to the top and try to keep your balance there, but wait a moment. Issei, well, now that Kiryu could awaken his sacred gear, only your Rhea-chan remain, and your answer is that I will also train you in the field of hand-to-hand combat as well as magic, since you should not always depend on magic. So you will do the same training as Kiryu, so you can start while giving 2 more claps, and Kiryu and Rhea disappeared to appear on top of the peaks on a wooden board and try to maintain balance. Calm down, every time you fall, you will appear again there until the 2 can dominate it. In addition to that, you will be facing various types of weather, and I will come until it starts to get dark. While I leave you, I have to go do something. While a door appeared and left there, leaving them. We can see our protagonist leaving the room very calmly to also leave his house, where he began to walk the streets until he reached a park and began to walk through it until a sound of something falling and a small moan of pain caught his attention, in addition to a veil falling near him, and he picked it up. Humming across a scene where there was a nun on the ground, but the strange thing was that the skirt she was wearing was covering her from the top, showing her pantyhose that were white, while her suitcase opened and her clothes fell out. Issei, seeing that, decided to help her. Oh, I'm always tripping, while she lowers her skirt, seeing that our protagonist was in front of her, offering his hand. Thanks, while he helps her up. I'm like that, Argentinian. Issei, while listening to him try to speak Japanese, but he had an Italian accent, deciding to give him a surprise. Nice to meet you, I'm Hyoudou Issei, but you can call me Issei, seeing that his face was surprised, hearing that he was speaking in Italian. Asia. Seriously, can you understand me? I mean, I'm not very good at speaking Japanese, but I'm surprised that you can also speak Italian. Well, I started to speak Italian as well. Issei. Of course I can understand you, besides I was in classes to be able to speak different languages where Italian is one of them, but how about we pick up all your clothes while handing her veil. So then the two of them began to pick up the clothes that were scattered around, where our protagonist avoided the underwear, until they finished picking them up where Issei closed the suitcase. Asia. Thank you Issei-san, I have a question Issei-san, do you know the church in this city? Issei. Sure, you want me to guide you, right? While Asia nodded with a cute smile. Well, let's go. So where the two began to walk towards the church, they walked calmly until a child tripped and scraped his knee and began to cry, where Asia, seeing that, ran with the child while our protagonist followed her. Asia. In my opinion, strong children don't cry. While she knelt down and put her hands near the child's knee, where a green light began to emerge, where the child stopped crying because he no longer felt pain, while Issei just stood there watching what Asia was doing. Until after a while Asia stopped emitting that light on the child's knee, where it was seen that there was no wound or scab, like a scar, until the child's mother approached and managed to see what Asia did, where she quickly took him away, in addition to sending him a face of disgust, which Asia seeing that only lowered her head, which Issei only limited himself to watching. Asia. Oh, I'm sorry you saw that, I almost always get those looks when I use my God-given power, while giving him a smile, which Issei saw was fake. Issei. Don't worry, it's okay, you're someone amazing, but let's continue on our way. While Asia nodded and started walking with her by her side. Until they reached a point where further ahead at the top of a mountain was the church, Issei felt an aura of fallen angels and knew that Asia was the nun that Rainer told him about, so he decided to do something. Issei. This one like this, drawing attention to this one. Are you sure this is that church? While pointing at the church that was on the mountain. Asia. Yes, Issei-san, why do you ask? While turning to look at him with such an innocent and naive face. Issei. Well, that church has been abandoned for a long time, so how about I give you lodging at my house? Asia. Oh, I didn't know that, are you sure Issei-san? I mean, we just met. Issei. Of course I'm sure, after all we're friends now, right? When Issei said that he was surprised to see Asia lower her head. Asia. You really say that we are friends Issei-san? While he grabbed her skirt tightly. You really mean it, you're not lying to me? While Issei saw tears starting to fall. You actually consider me your friend, even though we just met? Issei. Yes Asia. While hugging her. We are friends, you are my friend and I am your friend, so you can trust me, and I will trust you completely. Asia. Thank you, really thank you Issei-san, while reciprocating the hug. You are the first friend I have. And they stayed like that for a while until they separated, where he decided to spend some time with her, where they first went to eat some hamburgers, where Issei was surprised to know that she had not tried one, that when she tried it, she really liked it, where Issei took a great memory seeing Asia's behavior. When they finished they decided to go to an arcade to play, where Asia stopped in front of a claw machine where there were several red dragon stuffed animals, where Issei decided to get one and got it on the first try, where they were now heading to Issei's residence, while Asia was very happy about the stuffed animal she had in her arms. Until they arrived just as it was beginning to get dark, where Asia was surprised by Issei's house, where they entered while Asia watched everything surprised, until she saw the aquarium where she quickly went to appreciate the fish that were inside, where our protagonist, seeing that she would be there for a while, decided to take Asia's suitcase up to an available room. When he went down he saw that she was still looking at the fish tank until he called her because he wanted to show her something. Well, they went down and found themselves in front of a door that they decided to enter, where an Asian was hesitating whether to enter or not until Issei grabbed her hand and put her in. When they entered Asia was surprised to see that it was not a simple room, but instead there was a beautiful landscape, but what caught her attention were two stone peaks that were in the lake, but at the top of these were two girls on a board who were in the lotus position concentrating. Issei. Well, I see that you passed the first test, seeing that the two opened their eyes to pay attention to him, besides you women have greater agility and balance and above all concentration. So I finish your training for today. Well, he gave two claps and Rya and Kiryu disappeared to appear in front of him, besides he wanted to introduce them to someone. Well, they saw that next to him there was a blonde in a nun's outfit and well, you should get an idea, right Asia? Asia. I think so Issei-san, and nice to meet you, I'm Asia Argento, while bowing, which was reciprocated by the two of them. Kiryu. Rya. The pleasure is from us Asia, I am Ryakusaka Aika Kiryu. Issei. Well, since you met, how about we go out and talk to Asia? While he walked out the door with the three of them. And so it was the rest of the day where Issei prepares some food for Kiryu and Rya, and then he talks to Asia about how they also knew about the supernatural world, in addition to explaining to her about the supernatural world and that he was a dragon, where Asia got a big surprise. The problem of Rya's and the truth. A new day of the week begins, people get up to work and others to study, but we will be located in the residence of our protagonist, where the cute, tender and innocent Asia was staying, as well as a beautiful pervert with glasses and a skinny body, how we like them a little, right? Or deny it, who had little breasts, but could make up for it with her hips that oh my god, or Lucifer would make you lose your mind if you know how to use a weapon of that magnitude. And let's not forget his current wife, or better known as girlfriend, although we don't know which of all of them is the first, but she is the one recognized so far, that Issei didn't know why she had also stayed at his house, although he had no problem with any of the three, although Asia is not a problem since he offered her his home, but she didn't care about the other two. But we will focus right now on our protagonist's bedroom, where we can see that he sleeps peacefully, while he was hugging Ria, spoon hugging, and she had a face that seemed to be enjoying that moment or being like that with him. Everything was going well, a protagonist sleeping peacefully with his girlfriend, everything was going well, until a nun came in and well, she was surprised at how they were causing a little scream, which woke up the two lovebirds, where Asia blushed a lot, since Issei was only wearing sleeping pants, where she began to have indecent thoughts with Issei. Where she began to blow smoke out of her ears until she fainted. Well, the couple saw a nun on the floor saying Issei sent to completely faint, wherein Issei got up to go pick her up and take her to her room until she woke up, while Ria went to take a shower, since today they had to go to the academy. Once Issei left Asia in her room, he was going back to his room, but since the room Kiryu was staying in was next to his, he decided to go see if she was awake. Just as he entered, he was met with such a beautiful and glorious image. And that's because Kiryu had just finished taking a shower and just dropped the towel that covered her when Issei entered, letting us see how she came to this world, where she saw that she was naked and that our protagonist was watching her, and they lasted like that for a while, until Kiryu turned red in shame or embarrassment. While our protagonist, seeing that the only thing he did was leave and say sorry to close the door, leaving a blushing Kiryu. While our protagonist decided to return to his room, when he entered he saw Ria in underwear, who was putting on the academy uniform. When she saw that Issei came in, she just continued putting on her uniform. When Issei saw that, he went straight to the bathroom, but not before giving Ria a little kiss on the lips that she gladly accepted. After a while, our protagonist came out with only a towel covering his most noble parts, leaving his marked body exposed, deciding to go to his closet to change. Upon leaving, he found a queen who was waiting for him near the door, deciding to approach her so that she would come closer, while she grabbed his tie to tie a knot. When he was close enough to her, she decided to tie the knot, where Issei thanked her with a kiss, where the two went down to the kitchen, where Kiryu was looking at the fish tank he had in the living room. Where Issei decided to make breakfast for the 4 or 5 of them counting Drag, where they still had time before entering the academy, while Issei started preparing breakfast, while Ria and Kiryu decided to put the plates and cutlery on the table. When Issei finished preparing the different dishes, he was just going down to where she decided to help pass the dishes to the table. When they finished, they decided to sit down to eat. From time to time, Kiryu would glance at Issei for what happened in the morning. When they finished eating, Issei told Asia that she would stay alone in the house with Drag, where she could not leave until they returned, where she understood, so that later the three of them, Issei, Kiryu and Ria, went down to our protagonist's garage, where Kiryu was surprised by the cars and motorcycles he had. Until they stopped in front of one that was the McLaren P1 that was black, where Issei gave the keys to Ria, who, upon seeing the keys in his hands, put on a foxy smile as well as a sparkle in her eyes, where Issei told her that they would go in that one, while he was going to go on one of his motorcycles. Where the two got into the car, which was the first time for Kiryu, where he got into a sports car where Ria started the engine, while Issei got on his Kawasaki Ninja H2R motorcycle and also started the engine, so that our protagonist left the garage first, followed by the two beautiful ladies, and they headed to school. On the way, Issei accelerated in such a way that he was lost from their sight, and when they saw that, the only thing they did was accelerate to catch up with him, although it seemed more like they were racing. Until they were getting closer to their destination, which was the academy, where they caught the attention of all the students because of the speed at which they were coming, and also because Issei was coming on his motorcycle, but they didn't know who was coming in his car. Guo Academy. Until the two vehicles were left in a parking lot, where Ria and Kiryu got out of Issei's car, drawing more attention because now Kiryu arrived with them, but that was not all. When they entered the academy, you could see Ria walking next to Issei, while hugging the arm of R, who did not show a sign of discomfort at the looks the students gave him. While Kiryu walked next to them, even though she did have a clear blush when she saw that they were the center of attention. Until they had to separate, where Kiryu was a little separated from the couple, waiting for Issei to go to his classroom, where Issei only said goodbye with a quick kiss on the lips of Ria, in addition to telling her to wait for him at the exit, since they would continue training, and then go to Kiryu to go to his classroom, where they were silent. But what happened there is that some students saw the kiss that the two members of the student council gave each other, where it did not take long for them to start saying that Ria and Issei had a relationship or affair, and the rumor began to spread throughout the academy. When Issei and Kiryu arrived at their classroom, they saw that they had caught the attention where Issei managed to hear from a small group of girls about his kiss with Ria, where the rest ignored it and went to their seats. As always, our protagonist was lost in the path of life through the window. Where everything went normally, and Issei lost in the path of life, who sometimes went to the blackboard to leave them some problems that would be a mental grape for others, but Issei ended up raping the teachers, while Kiryu was a little lost in her thoughts until the break came. Burakiba arrived for Kiryu to go with Ria's, while Issei decided to go to the student council. His entire path was calm, although he received a few from the girls, and seeing that he just smiled and continued on his way until he reached the student council where he knocked 3 times and then received the pass, thus entering. Upon entering, he saw that Sona was at her classic desk, while on top of it, there were 3 piles of papers. In addition to that, there were also Tsubaki and Momo, although the latter had a jealous face, but tried to hide it, in addition to a small smile, as if she had found out something bad, while Sona and Tsubaki also had a jealous face, but it was not too noticeable. But Sona's face was the one that caught his attention since he noticed a little stress in her, but he knew it was not because of the paperwork, but because of something else. Issei. Hello Sona, Tsubaki and Momo while making a small bow like a gentleman. Sona. Oh hello Issei, I was waiting for you. Since you are here, what you have to do with Momo is go to the school warehouse and check what is missing and write it down. Well, that would be the only thing, so you can leave. Issei. Well Momo approached his side. If that would be all, I think we leave, but first of all Sona, if you have any problems you can talk to me or Tsubaki, or take a little break and clear your mind. Well, with that I leave, while he turned around with Momo at his side. Sona. Issei, calling this one's attention. Ito, thanks for saying that, but I want to talk about something with you on the way out, is that possible? Issei. Of course, while giving her a smile, which was reciprocated by a small Sona. Well, now we leave. While they left, leaving Sona and Tsubaki alone. Tsubaki. I think it's time to tell you that he is engaged to you, while turning to see Sona, who was looking with a serene look where they left. Sona. Yes, the truth is I already know what I feel for him, and I plan to tell him. While she put a hand on her chest. Why don't you do the same, Tsubaki? Tell Issei that you like him. Tsubaki. But what things are you saying, President? While avoiding the look she was sending her and hiding the blush she had. While that was happening in the student council in the warehouse where Issei and Momo were, they began to do their work, where it was consuming hours and hours, but the strange thing for Issei was that Momo remained silent, like in previous jobs they did together where they spent time chatting. With 2 hours left until classes ended, there was little work left, but let's focus on our protagonist, who was writing down in the notebook they had what was left, while Momo was sitting on a box. Momo. Issei, it's true about the rumor that you're with Ria, just answer yes or no please, also don't turn around. Issei. Ito, while he tried not to turn around. Yes, Momo-chan, it's true that I'm with Ria. Momo. I see, as she stood up from where she was sitting and began to walk towards our protagonist in silence. Well, Issei. Where our protagonist, upon hearing Momo's voice, he just turned around. As soon as he turned around, Momo threw herself at him, giving him a kiss, while she hugged Issei's neck, which surprised him by what he did, but he couldn't deny it either. He was enjoying it, and he just put his hands on her waist, where after a minute the kiss stopped, but they continued hugging. Momo. Hey Issei, do you have feelings for me? While looking away to hide her blushes. Issei. The truth is I like you, but I kept it in case you didn't feel the same, but haha, what happened a moment ago I think was the opposite, but I would have liked to tell you on a date or something. But with what just happened, I would like to say it, while grabbing his chin gently for him to see. Would you like to go out with me, Momo? Momo. Of course, it's not for nothing that I would have kissed you. After all, I really like you, Issei-kun, and I want to be by your side, no matter if you have more partners or the dangers you face in the future. I love you, while hugging him. Issei. I really did well to fall in love with you, while hugging her, as if he didn't want to let her go. And so, with the beginning of a new relationship on the part of our protagonist, who is quite a Casanova, where they continued working. But let's go back in time to when Kiba came for Kiryu to go to the occult club. Kiryu. I really have to go. Well, I have nothing to complain about, after all she saved me from dying and I'm grateful to her, but I really don't know what to do from now on, now that I know about the supernatural world and I have a sacred gear. While looking ahead, seeing that there was the second or first prince of the Kuo Academy until Issei arrived, where he also occupied that position in front of her until they reached a building that seemed abandoned, where they entered and continued walking until they stopped in front of 2 doors where Kiba knocked twice. After a while he received the pass. Upon entering he saw that the famous Ria's grimoire was in front of his desk, while she had her arms crossed highlighting her breasts, while a few meters next to her was ShinjiHimejima with a cute smile, while Kaneko was sitting on the couch eating sweets very calmly with her monotonous face. The cult club. Normal Pav. Ria's. Hi Kiryu, I'm glad you're okay, it doesn't hurt where you were hurt anymore, right? Kiryu. No, this is thanks Ria's grimoire for reviving me while bowing. Ria's. He just call me Ria's or president but you, besides you also owe thanks to Issei who was there to save you before you were completely killed by that fallen angel, but let's leave that aside, tell me have you been able to awaken your sacred gear? Kiryu. Yes but you, Issei-kun helped me wake him up while watching a surprised Ria's. Ria's. It's surprising that you have awakened your sacred gear without any problems, and what kind of sacred gear it is? Kiryu. I think so, I better show them to you while he closed his eyes, and the same thing happened as when he first appeared except for the rays and the explosion, where now a sword or kanata could be seen in its white sheath. Issei said that his name was Narukami, and that he uses rays in his attack. Ria's. You really are a pawn when you have a knight's weapon, you are a special case. Kiryu. Hahaha while scratching the back of his neck it was exactly the same thing that Issei-kun said, but I'm not complaining. Ria's. Kiryu, now that you have awakened your sacred gear I think Kiba can teach you some moves, what do you think? Kiryu. I apologize but Issei-kun decided to train me, I'm really sorry Kiba-san and but you. Ria's. Oh if you say that Issei is going to train you then I can't say anything, and when would your training start? Kiryu. Well we started it the day I awakened my sacred gear, so I think after school we will continue with my training. Ria's. Oh if that's like that then how about we teach you how to control magic, she said while having hopes. Kiryu. Maybe Issei-kun will help me with that, I'm sorry, but you while bowing. Ria's. Don't worry, if it's going to be like this I think you're in very good hands, I hope you get too strong. Kiryu. Yes but I will make the name of the Grimoire clan recognized in the supernatural world, just like my sword. Ria's. That means I'll also talk to you about the history of the supernatural world, right? While receiving a nod from her move how bad Issei-kun is while making a cute pout. Kiba. Kiryu-san while calling his attention when you finish your training with Issei-kun, how about we have a duel? Kiryu. Of course Kiba, I would like to see how good you are in battle, while making his katana disappear. And so we left the hidden club, with Ria's pouting for Issei, while Akena looked at that with a drop of sweat on the back of her neck, Kaneko eating her sweets without caring what was happening around her, Kiba who would eagerly await his two battles with Issei and Kiryu amusedly watching the scene her king was making. Well let's go back to the present time, where they finished the work that was assigned to Issei and Momo just when classes ended, where Issei and he were going to go to the student council to leave him the notebook about what was missing, and Momo wanted to accompany him, but he denied it that he was going to talk to her. Where she understood it and decided to go with Ria to bother her or whatever, thus leaving our protagonist watching her go, until she decided to go to the student council at once. Until after a while I reached the doors of this room where I was going to enter, but the door was opened where Saji came out. Saji. Oh hello Issei, this is my apology for what I did when we first met while bowing. Issei. Calm down Saji, there's no problem. I'm sure you also awakened one's pride, I'm telling you this because I'm one too. Saji. You weren't a simple human with a sacred gear, well it doesn't matter I have to go, I hope we see each other again, and you tell me more about yourself, besides getting along from now on while he was walking away. Issei. There are many things that nobody knows about me hahaha, I still hope that we get along from now on and train, so that you awaken the consciousness of Vitria. Well he saw that Saji raised his hand with his thumb up, meaning yes well problem solved with the oxygenated burrito. And so deciding to enter the council at once, upon entering he only found Sona arranging some papers until he saw Issei enter where he left them aside. Sona. Well, please sit down, Issei-kun well he did as she was told and handed him the notebook. Issei. Well, what did you want to talk to me about, Sona? While looking at her calmly. Sona. Well Issei, as you know, we demons suffered great losses where we lost demon houses, and well what I mean is that the demon council has made the young demons commit themselves in order to keep the pure-blooded demons. Sona. Well as you already know, Riaz is engaged and so was I, but I found a way to break it since at that time I didn't have my pieces. The only way to break it was through a game of chess, where I emerged victorious and made a deal with the demonic council which was, whoever beats me in a game of chess will hunt me down. Sona. Well getting up from her seat and standing in front of her desk and Issei, I thought that when we played the chess game you wouldn't beat me, but well it ended up being the opposite and now we are engaged well seeing that Issei had a thoughtful look. Issei. Well, I already knew that, Riaz told me when I was helping her at her club, but I never mentioned the engagement since I saw that you didn't mention it either, but now that you mention it, and if you want to cancel it just because you want to test me, it's no problem for me, while giving him a smile of understanding. Sona. No, I really don't want to cancel it, while Issei was surprised by what Sona said and turned to look at her, seeing that she had a small blush and looked away. Since you came to the student council and your help that you have given me with the paperwork and the others, in addition to your attitude and personality, have made something awaken in me. Something that I thought would take time to awaken, but only you came and you easily awaken it, something called love. I love you Hyoudou Issei. While our protagonist was in his seat really surprised, since she was the president of the student council, or better known by the other students the princess with the iron heart. Well, although it was not entirely true until he arrived, where he made her smile and even blush with simple words, and he liked to see those beautiful eyes along with those glasses that made her look more beautiful. Like seeing that beautiful smile that could brighten his day. But in addition to that, he also began to have feelings for her, so, if that beautiful girl that they talked so much about for her cold attitude, and that came to awaken feelings in him towards her, she was confessing to him, in addition to that she wanted to maintain her commitment with him, a dream come true. Issei. Are you serious, Sona? As he got up from his seat and looked at her with a hopeful look. Sona. Every word, Issei-kun, I really love you, and I would like to be by your side from now on. Issei. He while hugging her, leaving Sona surprised by what she did. You know, Sona, I love you too, every time I see you I can't stop looking at you, see you blush, see your beautiful smile that captivates me, your beautiful eyes that then look at me, I really love you Sona Sitri, and I would like you to be by my side, as my girlfriend and in the future as my wife, would you accept? Sona. Of course, while giving him a kiss on the lips, where Issei reciprocated, and they stayed like that for a while until they separated. I want to be with you Issei-kun, even if you have other partners, but I want to be in your heart, like you are in mine. Issei. You really make me happy just by hearing your voice, and keep in mind that you now have a place in my heart. Well, he gently tapped Sona's forehead with 2 fingers. After all, you are now my fiancé, while giving her a smile that made her blush. Sona. Full while pouting slightly, Issei, seeing her, could only continue to see how beautiful she looked. And well, I think that would be all that happened in the student council. Well, in the parking lot there was a king talking to Momo and Kiryu calmly, where the two told her that Issei was going to train them, where Momo was interested in Issei training her too, where she decided that she was also going to train with them, surprising these two with her decision. Until after a while Issei arrived at the parking lot where they were talking, until they saw him and stopped talking, where Momo went with him and asked him if he could train her too, where Issei agreed and also told the others that it was time to return, where Issei asked Momo where she wanted to go in the McLaren or the Kawasaki. Where she decided to go in the McLaren, being surprised that Rya would be the one to drive it, while Kiryu for this time would go with Issei, and so each one got into the vehicle with their companion and started it to head to Issei's residence. Issei. Kiryu, I offer you my sincerest apologies for what happened this morning. I seriously didn't know you were changing because I didn't knock while continuing to drive. Kiryu. Calm down Issei-kun, you say it was an accident and I understand, so you don't have to apologize. Issei. If you say so, but I still offer my apologies. While he felt Kiryu hug him from behind and no longer received a response. Hyoudou residence. We found an Issei leaving the bike in his garage along with the McLaren that was driving a king, where a Momo came out really surprised by how her friend drove as if she were a professional. Where they decided to go up to leave their things. When they went up they found a strange scene where there was an Asia jumping with happiness, while next to her was a depressed Drake saying damn FIFA or stupid dolls don't run at all, while in front of them both was Issei's flat screen with a FIFA 20 game, where there was a score of 4-0. Issei. I see you're having fun Asia-chan, where did this one catch your attention? How did you learn to play? Asia. Issei-san, I'm glad you're back. Drake-san taught me this, since we were both bored, he took the trouble to teach me how to play different games. Issei. Haha, you really surprised me Asia-chan, and looking at the score I see that you won, right? Well, receiving a nod in response from Asia. I hope we play another time, but I need to talk to you, can we? Asia. Oh of course Issei-san, thanks Drake-san for teaching me how to play, while following Issei until they reached his office. Issei. Well, I think we can talk calmly here and it'll be quick. Asia-chan, would you like to be stronger? Asia. Yes, I would like to be stronger so I can help you. Issei-kun, you are an incredible person, but all I can do is heal people, so I can't do much. Issei. I see, you really want to help me, while receiving a nod from her. Well, how about I train you, Asia-chan? Asia. Seriously Issei-san, you can train me, while receiving a nod from the protagonist. Oh please Issei-san, train me, so that I can be of help to you, more than just being a healer. Issei. Haha, that's what I wanted to hear. Well, with you your training will start on Friday, so enjoy these days, Asia-chan. While they left the room. And so where Rhea, with the help of Momo and Kiryu, they decided to prepare something to eat, where Issei was only playing FIFA with Asia and Drag, where Issei beat everyone until they finished cooking and called them to the table to eat and thus enjoying a good meal from Rhea. Until Issei went down to the training room with Momo, Rhea and Kiryu, and they entered where they again appeared where they trained the day before, where Kiryu and Rhea changed their clothes for the ones that Issei created, where Momo looked surprised by the outfits until a magic circle of Issei appears under her to change her outfit. Where Issei didn't waste any time and put them back on top of 3 peaks on some boards so they could keep their balance again, but now there was wind that knocked them over where they reappeared on top of the peaks. Issei. Well, you know what to do, keep your balance, but now try to stand on the board without falling. Well, I'll be back in a while. While leaving the room, leaving the 3 training. Well, our protagonist waited for it to get darker so that he would appear in front of an abandoned church where he decided to enter and slowly close the door with a smile that would cause fear, while his purple eyes shone brightly in the darkness where it was seen that they wanted to change color to red but remained the same until he completely closed the door. During that specific night in that church, several screams of pain, terror, agony, suffering were heard since our protagonist went to carry out a massacre there with the fallen angels who were like a few renegade exorcists. Well, we'll jump forward in time, specifically to Friday, so let's get started. We meet at the Kuo Academy, specifically at break time, where our protagonist did not go to the academy where he missed everyone, especially the student council and Kiryu, but for the occult club. His absence was not pleasant since the terrible day, the day that Rhea's hated it arrived, and it was the visit of her fiancé. Occult club. Your queen sure knows how to make a delicious tea. Rhea's. Well, he had a Rhea's in his arms who looked annoyed, but now there's not going to be something that stops us from getting married. Rhea's. Well, he caressed her leg. Akeno. I'm flattered. Razor-sama while giving him a smile that seemed more fake because of the love of your crush. Rhea's. To Razor while standing up. I will never marry you. While Razor also stood up. Razor. Hahaha, you seriously make me laugh. Rhea's while grabbing her chin, but there's nothing you can do to stop it. You don't have enough pieces to fight mine. While snapping his fingers, and his entourage appeared so accepted and give in to me just like your queen. Well, he approached Rhea's to try to forcefully kiss her. Issei. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Well, Rhea's chair turned around to show an Issei sitting on it while smoking a cigarette. Razor. And who the hell are you? While separating from Rhea's, while a white-haired girl in blue and white maid clothing was surprised not to feel Issei's aura. Issei. No one you're interested in. I'm just a simple dragon. While getting up from Rhea's chair, where her hair looked different. Razor. Oh, so a dragon. Well, putting on a confident smile and tell me dragons can do this. While approaching his queen to kiss her passionately and then grope her breast. Answer, you dragons can do this. Issei. Hahaha, of course we can. What's more, if I wanted I could take your women away from you right now, but I think you'll enjoy this more, or at least I will. While he began to release pheromones and slowly approached Rhea's and Akeno who were together. Do you really love them? Don't you? While with just one caress on the waist he made them shudder, but it's a pity. While he kissed an Akeno who was blushing and she responded to the kiss. While Rhea's was blushing at the scene in front of Issei and Akeno, Razor's entourage was also blushing without knowing why and felt excited just by feeling Issei's aura, and the white-haired girl in a maid outfit was also blushing a little until she felt something wet between her eyes. Until Issei finished kissing Akeno, who was blushing greatly, where Issei grabbed Rhea's by the chin and slowly approached. Razor. Enough, you disgusting dragon, causing Issei to stop and causing Rhea's to be annoyed by interrupting. I challenge you to a one-on-one duel. If I win, I will keep the women you have, counting Rhea's and Akeno. Issei. And if I win, I want a game of evil pieces. And he saw a blonde-haired girl who had 2 tails in the shape of a drill in her, just like you break your engagement with Rhea's. While pointing at her, that Razor seeing that only made him angrier. Razor. Haha, deal. While he had a confident look and smile. The duel will be after 2 weeks, so get ready. While he approached his entourage and they disappeared in flames. Issei. Well, you heard, beautiful, so tell your superior what happened. But about Rhea's, it was only to anger Razor, where the white-haired girl nodded and disappeared in a magic circle. Well, problem solved. Rhea's, while she continued smoking her cigarette and stopped releasing pheromones. Rhea's. Issei, I want an explanation of what you did, since I didn't understand what just happened a few moments ago. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.